Who exactly did Moses speak with on Mount Sinai? Most people think that when Moses wrote down the law of God, that he was writing the words that he audibly heard from God himself. After all, Exodus 33 tells us that Moses talked with God face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And Deuteronomy 34 confirms again that the Lord, Yahweh, knew Moses face to face. But then if Moses saw God's face, why is it that when he later asked to see the glory of God, that God responded by allowing him to see his back parts, but said that Moses could not see his face, saying that no man can see him and live? And in Hebrews 2, we see another puzzling addition to this question, because we're told that the word of the law was spoken by angels. And Acts 7:53 reiterates this, saying that the law was received by the disposition of angels. Galatians 3 also tells us that the law was ordained by angels. And Acts 7 actually says that Moses was in the wilderness with an angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai. So how could the law have been given to Moses by angels if Moses spoke with God face to face? And if Moses did speak face to face with God, then why did God say he wouldn't allow Moses to see his face?
Any thoughts? Any theories? Grab. Oh,
yeah. No, sorry. I had myself on mute. Again, it's the idea that I had that God is basically, it's like the idea of choice, and you only see the after effects of the choice. You can't see the choice itself, and that's the reason why you can't see God, because God's choice. Again, just a thought I had. Okay.
I just meant more within the lines of how do you have this idea of an angel that is, because I mean, this is also a tricky thing, because the word for angel is also the word for messenger, so people could read really anything into it. But assuming the idea that's an angel and that it's like God's other, basically, at least what I'd read into this is God's angel, other side, which can be like directly in the contact with humans in a way that God can't. It seems like it's talking about the Shekhinah.
No, that seems like that's a plausible idea. Again, another idea is something like an angel, like a Michael sort of thing. Again, just more of an agent that actually just appears on Earth.
I guess your cat agrees. But let's see, what am I? 1 moment. All right, here. So, let's see. Actually, this makes me think of something. I'm going to pull up something real quick. Let's see. The Shekhinah as an angel. Let's see. What's this?
Hi, I'm David Rankin, talking to you about my new book, The Cosmic Shekinah, co-authored with Sarita Diesti and published by Avalonia Books. One of the areas which has generated a lot of interest in this book is the connection between the Shekinah and angels. Indeed, in some texts, the Shekinah is known as the mother of angels. This is because in the Kabbalistic myths and legends, one of the creation myths has the Shekinah as the circle of fire which surrounds God, and through the union of Shekinah and God, the universe, the angels, and the souls of all living people are created. Hence, the Shekinah is the mother of angels. In macabre texts, macabre mysticism is an early form of Jewish mysticism, in which the macabre rider, macabre meaning chariot, would seek to ascend through the seven heavens, which correspond to the seven classical planets, into the presence of God and the Shekinah. The macabre texts are full of references and descriptions of the Shekinah and of her presence in the seventh heaven, and the particular association between her and angels.
So the
It is
seventh
significant
heaven.
that Metatron, who is seen as being the highest of all archangels,
That would likely be a reference to Saturn, wouldn't it? If Saturn is the seventh sphere, and the heavens are like the different spheres. Because it's not just this idea of spheres that like one layered onto another, it's also this idea of the spheres being planets. It would be interesting. Do you have any awareness of that? You're muted again. Graham?
My bad. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, no, it's the idea of I don't know where I was going with it. Sorry.
No worries. But yeah, oh shoot. I was switching around backgrounds and then now I need to find where did it go. But no, like I also like the like image kind of that's being drawn with this idea of is it too much? Okay, here. Let's just keep this. This was good. But yeah, just the idea that almost like because God can't come face to face with humans and the humans live, therefore the Shekhinah surrounds God almost like in like a circle around the point that is God. And so you have the point that is God, the circle that is the Shekhinah, and then around that circle, or like, in front of that circle would be Moses talking to it. And then, surrounding the mountain, which is at the top of the mountain is a circle. So you have this fractal image. So the mountain represents God to the circle of people that represents the Shekhinah in the same way that, so the mountain is the point, just like God, in the way that the circle of people is just like the circle of fire or cloud that it envelops, God that travels with them.
No, I see what you're saying, and I was going to say that circle surrounding God in a lot of traditions is like the seraphim as well, I believe.
Also, another thing it's pretty easy, but the whole idea of the 0 being feminine and the 1 being masculine.
No, that's a connection that people make as well.
I mean, like both in like both in this idea that like the 0 is kind of like the void, it's that which pre-exists, but then also the idea that the 0 is like I mean, it has some like sexual imagery to it. Basically, the idea of like a point or a line that's being viewed two-dimensionally, or a circle, which could also represent, an opening.
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Name, which is meta.
And then obviously the whole idea of like zeros and ones and binary code. And the idea that like, I mean, if you can essentially create entire, digital universes that exist only on zeros and ones, and yet we see it as all this other thing, it's no different than, the duality that exists within our universe, and how like things can flow seamlessly despite being made up of opposite things.
Definitely. Again, at the bottom of it, I go with the dialectical monism, where there's a monad that can only be expressed in a duology. So.
The Thronos, above the throne, referring to the throne of glory on which the Shekinah sits, and also the throne of glory on which Yahweh or God sits, is particularly associated with the Shekinah, as are the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, who are also in later times associated with the four elements of air, fire, water, and earth. Now, as well as those, the Macabre texts emphasize the connection between the Shekinah and the order of angels known as the cherubim, or cherubim, meaning the strong ones. These are the angels who are most often mentioned in the Bible. Two cherubs are described as being on the Ark of the Covenant, which is seen as being one of the places where the Shekinah resides. And she is also described in one of the texts in the book of Enoch as residing on top of a cherub, and that her light shines forth from the Ark of the Covenant, and also when she was in the Garden of Eden, that it shone forth, and after Adam and Eve were banished, that they stayed with their family near the gates of Eden so that they could receive the light of the Shekinah. The association between angels and Shekinah is also found with the Gnostic wisdom goddess Sophia being particularly connected with angels. So this is a phenomenon which continued from early times onwards and has always been there. The divine feminine, as the mother of angels, is a very powerful force, and one which may be inspiring in a number of ways. The angels are the messengers of the Shekinah as much as they are messengers of God. And when you start looking at the early literature, like Macabre literature, this is made much clearer. If you want to find out more about the Shekinah and angels, then the Cosmic Shekinah is available from all good esoteric bookshops, as well as online outlets such as Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and indeed from the publishers Babylonia Books at www.babyloniabooks.co.uk. I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little about the Shekinah and angels, and I will look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now.
Interesting. So it doesn't really go into as much as oh, what's this?
And if you've never heard of Sophia, Sophia welcome, my fellow goddess lovers. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about Sophia and Asherah and the Shekinah. First, let me talk about Sophia a little bit. So if you've never heard of Sophia, Sophia isn't a goddess as much as she is a concept, I guess. Some people have suggested that in Christian mysticism that Sophia is the third part of the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost Trinity, that she is the Holy Ghost. Sophia appears in many passages of the Bible as the female personification of wisdom, and her roles and popularity in Judeo-Christian traditions have changed over time. She's also celebrated in Kabbalah, and if you're not familiar with Kabbalah, it's a form of Jewish mysticism, and she is celebrated in the Kabbalah as the female expression of God. Sophia has been venerated by various religious figures throughout history, including Hildegard of Bingen, who is also, like Sophia, represented at the dinner party. And the dinner party, if you're not familiar, was the first sort of epic She's also celebrated in Kabbalah, and if you're not familiar with Kabbalah, it's a form of Jewish mysticism, and she is celebrated in the Kabbalah as the female expression of God. Sophia has been venerated by various religious figures throughout history, including Hildegard of Bingen, who is also, like Sophia, represented at the dinner party. And the dinner party, if you're not familiar, was the first sort of epic feminist art installation in the 70s, put together by an artist named Judy Chicago, who I believe is still out there making art. And it was this massive dinner setting. There were long tables in the shape of a triangle, and there were, I believe, 48 or 49 place settings in the table, and all the place settings were for influential women in history, like Audre Lorde, but also included goddesses, and there was a place setting for this Hildegard of Bingen, and there was also a place setting for Sophia. And yeah, again,
Have you ever heard of this? I remember reading about this for one of my classes.
Just vaguely knew about the art installation. Nothing any real detail.
See, does it include all the different... Let's see, dinner party, components of the dinner party. Place settings? Is that it? Does it have them all here? Oh, interesting. So, let's see, Wing 1, Prehistory to Classical Rome, Wing 2, Christianity to the Reformation, Wing 3, American Revolution and the Women's Revolution. So, yeah, let's just focus on the ancient ones first. So, yeah, Primordial Goddess, clearly, I mean, we know what this is evoking. Seems to be almost like the idea of like the cosmic womb versus the fertility goddess. It's like, it looks like she's giving birth to grain. Ishtar, they seem to, I don't know if you can tell, but there seems to be a general pattern, at least amongst the all the ones up to here. But let's see. Then you have Sophia. That's really cool. I like this one a lot. Then there's Amazon. What's that even supposed to be? What? Oh, they're talking about the Amazons. Interest. Okay, this is cool. I really like this. Let's see what else is there. Hatshepsut, Judith. Biblical. Interesting. Let's see what else is there. Aspasia, Boadicea, Hypatia. It's really interesting. Okay, what else was there? So place any heritage floor? What's this? One sec. One moment. Okay, here. Okay, heritage panels. What's this? Oh, okay, I guess the part that I was more interested. Okay, entry banner. So we, and she made for them a sign to see, and lo, they saw a vision, and she gathered all before her. Let's see. Anyway, where was it? Here.
For this episode. So if you're interested, you can just go Googling and look for The Dinner Party by Judy Chicago. Some say that the dinner party was her rebellion against the Last Supper painting. So the dinner party kind of theologically addressed Sophia and the concept of divine
Rebellion?
humanity.
Like, come on, that's more being inspired and having your own take on it. Like, I don't get why everything has to be so, so oppositional.
Critical theory is my answer, but
And in nearly all representations of sacred wisdom in the Judeo-Christian tradition, some aspect of Sophia can be found. She even became integrated into the worship of the Virgin Mary in the Middle Ages, as did many other goddesses. There's actually an episode coming up all about the Virgin Mary and all the goddesses that went into creating her. So I'm going to tell you what it says in Wikipedia, which I double-checked some of their references, and it seems accurate to me. My academic friends will correct me if any of this is incorrect, and that's why I love them. So Wikipedia has, this is the Wikipedia entry. Sophia is a central idea in Hellenistic philosophy and religion, Platonism, Gnosticism, and Christian theology. And I would add Kabbalah to that as well. Originally carrying a meaning of cleverness and skill, the later meaning of the term, closer to the meaning of phronesis, which means wisdom and intelligence, was significantly shaped by the term philosophy. And the term philosophy used by Plato means the love of wisdom. In the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church, the feminine personification of divine wisdom as holy wisdom can refer either to Jesus Christ and the Word of God, as in the dedication of the Church of Hagia Sophia in Constantinople. I probably mispronounced Hagia, I don't know. Or to the Holy Spirit. References to Sophia in Koine, K-O-I-N-E, Koine, Greek translations of the Hebrew Bible translate to the Hebrew term Chachma. So that's your Wikipedia entry about Sophia. I found this other article by a woman named Joyce Rupp on usacatholic.org, and she wrote this article January 4, 2016, and she says, the biblical feature of Sophia, or wisdom, is more than metaphor. She is an expression of the feminine aspects of God. Wow, for a Catholic to write that? She probably got in trouble. In the Greek translation, the words for holy wisdom are, here's that word again, Hagia. Hagia Sophia. Thomas
The
Merton,
name of the
who's
church.
a fabulous mystical poet that I highly recommend, he wrote about her in Emblems of a Season of Fury. And here's what he wrote, and it's so, so beautiful. The diffuse shining of God is Hagia Sophia. Sophia is gift, is spirit, donum Dei. She is God-given, and God himself as gift. Sophia, in all things, is the divine life reflected in them. Wow, Thomas Merton, wow. So there's a book called the Book of Wisdom. Well, it's called the Book of Wisdom in the Latin Bible tradition, but it's also called the Wisdom of Solomon, and it's a book about wisdom, its benefits, nature, and role in ancient Israel's history. It's more of an exhortation to pursue wisdom rather than a collection of wise teaching. And in the Book of Wisdom, it describes Sophia guiding the Exodus people through the wilderness. It says, she led them by a marvelous road. She herself was their shelter by day and their starlight through the night. That's in Wisdom 10:17. Other references in the Bible. She is a teacher. Hear, for I will speak noble things, take my instruction. That's from Proverbs 8:1-11. A mother. She brings up her own children. The tree of life. It's Proverbs 3-8. And true wealth, more precious than jewels. That's Proverbs 3:15. She's also described as a counselor, a fine mist, light, and the law. Wow. Sophia provides healing and shelter, gives rest, and offers what is needed for spiritual transformation. I'm still reading from this piece by Joyce Rupp. She goes on and says, the Hebrew Bible mentions several places where the presence of God was felt and experienced as a Shekinah. We're going to talk about the Shekinah later, including the burning bush and the cloud that rested on Mount Sinai. The Shekinah was often pictured as a cloud or as a pillar of fire and was referred to as the glory of God. The Shekinah was also understood to be present in the tabernacle and the temple in Jerusalem, and the Shekinah is also to be seated at the right hand of God.
And when she's in the temple, she's called Asherah.
In classic Jewish thought, the Shekinah refers to a dwelling, or settling in a special sense, a dwelling or settling of divine presence, to the effect that, while in proximity to the Shekinah, the connection to God is more readily perceivable. I'm going to digress and talk about the right hand of God. As long as I have physically felt, the presence of my goddess, which doesn't happen very often, but it seems to happen spontaneously. It happens when I'm struggling with something, but it also happens when I'm joyful. I don't know, it seems random to me. I'm sure it isn't to her. But anyway, when I have that physical sensation of her laying a hand gently on my shoulder, it's always on my right shoulder, and I can always feel her presence right behind my right shoulder. And I wondered why that was. And my only reference point was the right hand of God, which I neglected to write down. Let me look that up real fast. I just make it up as I go along. Okay, so Theology Thursday on the Theological Ministry School's website, it says the right hand is seen as a place of honor and status throughout the biblical text. When the Bible makes statements that Jesus Christ sits at the right hand of the Father, it is affirming that he has equal status to the Father within the Godhead. Well, that sounds about right, that the goddess would stand behind me on the right. But she, in my worldview, she does not sit at the right hand of anyone. People sit at the right hand of her. Or not people, but other deities, other aspects, other goddesses. So the next article I cited in my research, that's just how it's going to be, guys. It's just going to be me reading things to you. I trust that's okay. You don't have to go look this stuff up yourself. So there's a writer for the Huffington Post News named Antonia Bloomberg, and she posted this article on July 17, 2014, called Sophia, the Christian Mystic's Path to Wisdom. So Antonia tells us, Radu Ayakub, a religious scholar of the University of Leuven, concurs that theologians throughout history have often understood wisdom to be a feminine being who contains both human and divine traits. That tracks for me. In some cases, Ayakub writes, wisdom was personified in a feminine nature as the divine consort of God, because of course, Christians, or later as the eternal feminine. The Stoics understood Sophia as, quote, knowledge of the divine and the human, end quote, which they regarded as a, quote, crucial underpinning for the goal of leading a moral life, end quote. So I have another interjection. It's brief. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about morality, and I think when I talk about morality, it's about like my own personal code. Like if you ever watch Dexter, he had a code. I have a code. You have a code. She has a code. He has a code. Everybody has code, whether they know it or not. And that is their own kind of moral compass, we often refer to it as. But my moral compass came from the goddess. The morals that I have, the morals that I try and live by, are the morals that she has instilled within me. Okay, that's the end of my interjection. Back to Antonia, who goes on to tell us, oh yeah, there's another poem. The 11th century abbess and Christian mystic Hildegard of Bingen, she was also the one at Judy Chicago's dinner party, also revered Sophia and described her as the encompassing energy of God. In a prayer to Sophia,
Sorry, who was that?
Bingen wrote, "You of the whirling wings." The 11th century abbess and Christian mystic Hildegard of Bingen,
Oh, wow.
she was also the one at Judy Chicago's dinner party, also revered Sophia and described her as the encompassing
Yeah,
energy.
she's a mystic worth reading.
Prayer to Sophia, Bingen wrote, "You of the whirling wings, circling, encompassing energy of God, you quicken the world in your clasp. One wing soars in heaven, one wing sweeps the earth, and the third flies all around us. Praise to Sophia. Let all the earth praise her."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, that's
With
like
one
a
wing in heaven,
direct parallel to.
of God. The 11th century abbess and Christian mystic Hildegard of Bingen, she was also the one at Judy Chicago's dinner party, also revered Sophia and described her as the encompassing energy of God. In a prayer to Sophia, Bingen wrote, "You of the whirling wings, circling, encompassing energy of God."
Sorry.
You of the whirling wing, God. In a prayer to Sophia, Bingen wrote, "You of the whirling wings, circling, encompassing energy of God, you quicken the world in your clasp. One wing soars in heaven, one wing sweeps the earth, and the third flies all around us. Praise to Sophia. Let all the earth praise her." Yeah. With one wing in heaven and one on earth, Hildegard writes, Sophia, quote, quickens the world. In Old English, the word quicken referred to giving life and coming into life. Thus, Hildegard suggests the world comes alive through Sophia. In that description, it does sound like Sophia is a goddess, not just a concept. Oh, and here's more about the dinner party. I forgot that this was in this article, and I kind of bumbled through the whole dinner party thing earlier, but here's what Antonio says. Sophia appears at the dinner party by Judy Chicago, first displayed in the 1970s, thought to be the first epic feminist art installation by many, in the form of a single flower, echoed in both her plate and runner. According to Chicago, Sophia's presence at the table represents the downfall of female power, particularly religious power. It is also meant to convey Sophia's historical transformation in society from a goddess of wisdom and female strength to a purely spiritual image that plays a secondary role to the male figures of Christianity. That's what Chicago wrote in her book, Embroidering Our Heritage. At one time, Sophia was worshipped as the female aspect of God and as a creative force in the universe. But, like so many other goddesses, her original identity has either been lost or merged into other religious traditions. The place setting depicts one of the many incarnations of the goddess of wisdom and her transformation in popular culture throughout history. So, I guess I don't really care if Sophia is a goddess or a deity or a concept or an idea or a theology. I know that for me, you have heard me refer to the goddess that I worship as the diamond god, and I believe that Sophia is just another aspect of the goddess herself, that primordial goddess that I pray to and worship and sing love songs to. I think Sophia fits right in and is in good company. So that's the deal with Sophia. And you guys know me, I could go on and 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 on about what that means to me, what my emotional experience of Sophia is. But rather than doing that, I'm going to move on to the Shekinah, which you may or may not have heard of. Shekinah, which has many, many, many different spellings. But I typically use this one, which is Shekinah. And Shekinah is the English transliteration of a Hebrew word that means dwelling or settling, And it denotes the presence of God, as it were, in a place. Like people talk about, church being the quote-unquote house of the Lord. So that this concept of Shekinah is present in all Abrahamic religions, but particularly in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So I found this guy, Edward Durand, Durand, and he wrote this feature article in an online newsletter, I guess it's a newsletter, called Braided Perspectives in July 28, 2020. And here's what our friend Edward says. Originally, Yahweh was spoken of as having a wife, Asherah. And we'll talk a little bit more about Asherah and the destruction of the shrines to Asherah. There was a common blessing around the time of Solomon, which was blessed be whoever by Yahweh and his Asherah, implying that Yahweh owned Asherah. As Raphael Patai said in his book, The Hebrew Goddess, he says, quote, of the 370 years during which the Solomonic Temple stood in Jerusalem, for no less than 236 years, the statue of Asherah was present in the temple, hanging out with Sophia, I guess, and her worship was part of the legitimate religion, end quote. The Bible has references to the goddess. For some of them, you have to go back to older sources than the King James Bible. There's a lot of versions of the Bible before the King James Bible, if you did not know that. So the Wycliffe Bible, she speaks in the book of Proverbs, 8:23 and 8:30. From without beginning, I was ordained, and from eld times before that the earth was made, I was making all these things with him. End quote. From without beginning, she has no beginning. She was ordained. Before the earth was made, which I would suggest implies that she made the earth. And that line bugs me. I was making all these things with him. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that the with him was entered into the text at some ancient point when the focus became on male god iconography and symbolism. That's just a guess. I could be wrong. But I would not be surprised if some academic out there discovered that, yes, that's true, that it didn't always say I was making all these things with him. And instead it said I was making all these things. But again, that's just my conjecture. I don't know that for a fact. The Elohim Elohim. It's a term I've heard before because I've studied the Kabbalah a little bit. Kabbalah magic, anyway. The Elohim were said to have made mankind in their own image. Elohim is a plural word. The singular is Eloah, which is the feminine form of El, E-L, Lord or God. It's related to the word Allah and the words Alat and Ilat, which pre-Mosaic peoples of the Middle East used to refer to sacred unity, and as the great goddess. The Elohim, Elohim, it's a term I've heard before.
I'm playing this to emphasize it.
It's Kabbalah magic, anyway. The Elohim were said to have made mankind in their own image. Elohim is a plural word. The singular is Eloah, which is the feminine form of El, E-L, Lord or God. It's related to the word Allah and the words Alat and Ilat, which pre-Mosaic peoples of the Middle East used to refer to sacred unity, and as the great goddess. So, a little aside about this book that I'm going to read to you from. I bought this book about the Shekinah called The Cosmic Shekinah, A History of the Goddess of the Old Testament and Kabbalah. And I've had that book for, I don't know, a really long time. I think it was published in 2010.
Wait, what book?
Interestingly, I kind of put it away. History of the Goddess of the
Oh, that's the one.
The Shekinah, called The Cosmic Shekinah, A
Dang,
History
I want to get this
of the
book
Goddess
now.
of the Old Testament and Kabbalah. And I've had that book for, I don't know, a really long time. I think it was published in 2010. Interestingly, I kind of put it away, and it's on a bookshelf somewhere. I have many bookshelves. I didn't think about it for the longest time until I did this episode. So then I brought it up on my Kindle, and I see that one of the co-authors is Sarita de Este. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Sarita de Este. And I came across Sarita de Este within the last few years because she opened and founded a Covenant of Hecate sanctuary in New York. I'm not sure exactly where in New York, but it's in New York. So, that is all about, obviously, it's all about Hecate. And I just thought it was really interesting. I was like, Sarita de Este was all over the Shekinah, 10, 12 years ago. So anyway, just weird. You can look her up, Sarita de Este, S-O-R-I-T-A, lowercase d, apostrophe, E-S-T-E.
And also,
She's also
we're going to get into the actual text in a few minutes.
Hecate. She wrote
I'm taking one more down.
Tending Her Sacred Fires, and she's got information out there online about Hecate liminal rights. She is a devotee of Hecate, and yeah, she's great. And I don't know, it was just, to me, it was interesting to look at this book I haven't looked at for years and years and years, and realize everything in my life really does come together eventually. It just takes me a while to realize it. I had no idea how important that book would be to me 11 years later than it was when I initially looked at it. So that was probably in my quest for a goddess religion or a goddess cult in the US that I could run away and join, or Canada, kind of just close enough that I could go there too. So you can settle in, grab a blankie and a cup of coffee if you want. I'm going to read a few pages from the Cosmic Shekinah, The History of the Goddess of the Old Testament and Kabbalah. And at this stage, I'm looking at my recording time and I'm thinking, this discussion about both Sophia and the Shekinah may have to be a two-part episode. And if you're out there, my goddess-loving friends, and you're listening, and you know anything about Sophia or the Shekinah and would like to come and talk about it on the show, so it's not just me here reading books to you, get in touch. You can leave a comment on my social media pages, which is just Instagram and TikTok, or you can send an email to thegirlfriendgod@gmail.com. Again, knowledgeable people about either Sophia or the Shekinah or both, come and talk to me. Okay, so this is the beginning of the first chapter, which starts with a quote, which is, "I learnt it all, hidden or manifest, for I was taught by wisdom, by her whose skill made all things." And that's from the Wisdom of Solomon. I referred to this earlier, 1st century BCE. So there it is again, that her whose skill made all things. That sounds like the original OG goddess to me, the one who created things, things, and everything that came before those things. Did you follow that? So, okay. The Shekinah is the primordial light of creation, the heavenly glory of divine wisdom, and the inspiration for prophecy. She is also the world soul, manifest through the divine sparks of her light, which comprise human souls and thus unites us all. With roots in the wisdom goddesses of the ancient world, the Shekinah is the manifestation of feminine divinity from the unnamed wisdom goddess of the Old Testament, found in the Jewish mystical systems known as the Kabbalah and in Merkava mysticism. I have a comment, which is that she refers to her as the world soul, which in Latin is anima mundi, and that is often how dedicants of Hecate refer to Hecate as anima mundi, the soul of the world. So I wonder when, maybe I could reach out and get her to come on the show. I wonder when Sarita would have abandoned the Shekinah for Hecate. Or maybe like me, she believes that they are one and the same, right? That all goddesses make up the one, the source, the creator. Okay, just moving on. The name Shekinah first appeared in material found in the Onkelos Targum, which dates from the 1st and 2nd century CE. This text, by an unknown author, was misnamed during the medieval period after Onkelos the proselyte, who translated the Bible into Aramaic. In the Onkelos Targum, the term Shekinah is used to illustrate a divine presence which is separate from Yahweh, as in this paraphrase of Exodus 25:8. And they shall make before me a sanctuary, and I shall cause my Shekinah to dwell among them. The first glimpse of the power or function of the Shekinah is seen in the meaning of her name, which is derived from the Hebrew root shachan,
Shachan,
meaning to dwell.
well.
This meaning hints at her tangible presence as a visible manifestation of the light of wisdom in the books of the Old
His
Testament.
pronunciation is even worse than mine, Ariel.
What did he say?
I said his pronunciation.
No,
is
what
even
did
worse
he
than mine.
say?
Oh, I wasn't sure. I know what he means. I'm not sure what he's saying. I try to draw some of his mispronunciations out.
And they shall make before me a sanctuary, and I shall cause my Shekinah to dwell among them. The first.
What, he's saying Shekinah?
Yeah, there he's saying my Shekinah.
I mean, it's not wrong because it could be Shekinah or Shekhinah. So it's like, it's not wrong because the cha, it's not a ched, it's actually it's a chaf, and so chaf can also be pronounced kaf. So it's interesting because oh wow, you just helped me connect two things. I wonder if the Phoenician god Sakun has anything to do with this, because I've never found an etymology explained for that. But if it is Sakun, because Sakun is another, like for instance in Arabic, Shekhinah is actually Sakina, and so the sa changes, and so does, or rather the sha changes to a sa, and the cha changes to a ka. So Sakina, Shekhinah, it's the same thing. It's just in the case of the Sakina in Islam, it's very much understood as this kind of like depersonified thing. It's just something that God sends upon people. It's not understood as an aspect of God. It literally just is it's like a blessing from God, but it's not. It's just a blessing, not one who blesses, if that makes any sense. Because the only one who blesses is Allah in Islam.
Yeah, no. Islam collapses everything down to Allah.
It's all Allah from here. Or rather, should I say Allah, Allah?
Allah, Allah, Oxenfree?
No. That's Ali, Ali, Oxenfree. But I guess you could say Ali. Well, Ali would be my God. So Ali, Ali, Oxenfree actually means my God, oxen free.
Glimpse of the power or function of the Shekinah is seen in the meaning of her name, which is derived from the Hebrew root shachan, meaning to dwell. This meaning hints at her tangible presence as a visible manifestation of the light of wisdom in the books of the Old Testament, as the burning bush seen by Moses, in the Ark of the Covenant, and in the Temple of Solomon. Her name was also Aramaized to Shekinta, Shekinta, in some texts like the Targums, which are Aramaic translations of the Bible that often included commentaries. The Shekinah is first hinted at as the unnamed wisdom goddess of the books of the Old Testament, as well as being named in apocryphal, sorry, I never use these words, apocryphal and
Apocryphal.
pseudo-epigraphical, got that one, pseudo-epigraphical books from the latter part of this period spanning 1,000 years, from the 7th or 6th century BCE through to the 3rd or 4th century CE. Whilst it has been suggested that the Shekinah was simply a hypostasis of God's glory, personifying his qualities, the traces found in these ancient writings make it clear that she was much more than this. So the Shekinah is just another kind of commodified goddess figure rewritten as history is written down, eventually phasing her out, because I'm fairly certain that if you go to a Christian mass today, no one is going to be talking about the Shekinah. Can you feel my frustration, my friends? Yeah. But this is why we study history, right? This is why we go back to ancient history, because
I
there is
share
an
your
ancient history,
frustration,
and there
my
is
brother.
history prior to the Greeks and
My
Romans.
brother.
So the book goes on to say, by exploring the myths and deities of the ancient Middle East, it becomes clear that the origins of the Shekinah may be found in several earlier goddesses associated with wisdom in civilizations such as those of Sumer, Egypt, and Canaan. So I did quite a bit of research into her different manifestations, and pretty much everything that I researched on my own is in this Cosmic Shekinah, History of the Goddess of the Old Testament and Kabbalah book. I know that she has numerous representations, some of which are the serpent, fire, like the burning bush of the Shekinah.
Lion, the tree.
Interestingly, the Shekinah is also seen as a dove.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
who else is associated with the dove, boys and girls?
Ishtar,
Well,
Astarte.
that would be the Virgin Mary.
Oh yeah, don't forget about her. Also, the
So
Holy
let's talk a little
Spirit.
about Asherah. There are
Asherah Shekhinah.
some disputes about the historical accuracy of biblical descriptions of Jewish slavery in Egypt, primarily how it's described in Exodus. But what we do know is that there was a Jewish presence in Egypt. Large numbers of Jews settled there.
Oh wow. This is pretty interesting. I just connected this. Think about it. When is it that the Exodus story starts to come about?
Ariel, what do you mean by starts to come about? When the events are supposed to have started happening, or when it was supposed to have been written, or what?
When it was supposed to have been written.
That depends on who you talk to.
Okay, 𝐤𝐿𝐼can. What's 𝐤𝐿𝐼can say?
He's saying in Alexandria about 287 BC.
Now think of this. Is it possible that in the same way that basically the Genesis narrative, some of this is like it's taken from Babylonian sources, but in a lot of ways it's in order to explain living in Babylon. Also, the same with Abraham's story. The idea of having the forefather be in Babylon and that he comes out of Babylon is in order to inspire. Now, is it possible the story of Moses comes about in order to inspire these Jews who are they're falling into Egyptian ways and losing their original like Israelite or Canaanite identity? And so it's written about during the Hellenistic age in order to reconnect them back in the same way that the stories from Babylon were, retaken and twisted in order to get people to stay or to not become pagan, or rather pagan, or like worship the Babylonian gods.
Again, interesting idea. I'd have to see it develop further. The competing one, which I think has a lot of credence, is the idea that what was written in Alexandria in the 3rd century there was just the latest update revision of that one, because you have in Manetho and a couple of other ones, you do have records of something resembling some type of Exodus narrative, where you have that one, even if it is just the Hyksos.
Yeah.
And it's basically incorporating that one into a new version of Judaism in 287 BC.
Yeah.
Which,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, which then got updated again, like was talking about, Dr. Bob was talking about under the Hasmoneans, and it was the updated version from when Cyrus had taken over, because with the Cyrus cylinder, you saw that a version was getting established. Now I'm done. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in that same vein, it's possible that where is it going with this? That let's see, I was saying about Manetho. Sorry, I think I lost it. What was it?
The Manetho Exodus one, I want to say, was under Osarsis.
No, but what were you saying before that?
Oh, that what was being written with the Moses Moses as a literary character.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks for drawing my memory. So basically, it could also be similar to how you have these kind of parallels, or these almost like these lines in the sand or carved into the stone already drawn. And so, for instance, just look at the fact that, the two gods of the Hebrew Bible, El and Yah, or El and Yahweh rather, are direct parallels of Enlil and Ea, or Enki. So, like, I think that the idea that it's clearly pulling on older traditions, even if you want to say it's not the exact same traditions. They're like the idea that the gods of, I mean, because it's from what I understand, there's pretty good evidence suggesting that although really what we get like, and it's kind of interesting because think about it, you have all these you have all these Indo-European gods, but really none of them survive past the Bronze Age. Like, all of them get transformed in a lot of ways, get mediated or modulated by the gods of the ancient Near East. And so I think that it would be worth looking at, what was it? Oh shoot, where is I going with this? Looking at, yeah, I lost it. Sorry. Anyway, we'll get started. Maybe it'll come back to me. So, actually, 1 second. I need to get something real quick.
I was going to say, I did have something to say about it, because I disagree with the guy's take on the source being female. That's one of those things I disagree in the strongest ways. The source is beyond any sort of description. It's beyond male and female. And the Shekinah, just like Yahweh, is one of the emanations from the source. The source is El Elyon, the Tao, that sort of thing. And he comes across as one of those female supremacy cult, I find, the patriarchy and matriarchy, each of them distasteful in different ways. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I mean, that might be where he's coming from, but I think it might, because I mean, so
Oh, he comes across clear to me when he keeps talking about the goddess worship, and the one that was so triggering was when he was trying to talk about the insertion of a male being involved in creation as some sort of later interjection of the patriarchy. He's coming across clearly in that female supremacy, misandrous sort of approach.
I mean, the oldest traditions do focus on the idea of the Earth Mother or a cosmic womb. Like,
well, there you're talking about that. The tradition you're talking about there had pretty much died long before writing started. You're talking about the Paleolithic one, and you have no idea what male tradition they had at the time either.
Okay, but do we have evidence of a male tradition from that period, or is it just evidence of absence? I mean, absence of evidence.
I was asking if we had any. I was saying I don't know. I can probably say some of the shamanistic traditions. You could argue, the whole cave bear cult would be, you could argue, would be evidence of some sort of male tradition.
But I mean, like, I think part of the thing is that some people look at the idea of source and the cosmic womb as interchangeable.
Well, yeah, and those who are elevating the female above the male, I find making a categorical error, and I'm going to disagree with them each and every time. Neither male nor female is superior to the other. And anybody, and that's the problem that people raise with the patriarchy. The answer isn't to elevate the matriarchy above the patriarchy. That's just replacing one evil with another, a la critical theory, which I'm so dismissive of.
See, I mean, I honestly kind of think you're assuming that. I mean, I might be wrong, but because of the fact that, like, just because you have this idea of like something being first doesn't mean that it's more important. And it just so happens to be that this guy connects to divinity through the feminine tradition. But has he explicitly said any of those things, or are you just like?
No, I'm specifically talking about he was entirely dismissive and talking about that it was an interjection into the text. If we're listening to him, I could point out each and every time he's entirely matriarchy, male over female. I mean, female over male. Entirely dismissive of the male and pro-female. Again, that's entirely within his rights to be 100% female worshiping. I'm just saying for that as soon as he calls the source female, he puts his car into the lake for me. He's now gone off, he's now jumped the shark, and he now is not describing any reality that I can recognize.
So, what's your take on like how come all life starts out female? Like later some
It
develops.
doesn't start out female. All life starts out as neither. Bacteria, it starts out as single cell organisms.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I meant. I'm talking about like even males start developing and are indistinguishable from females past a certain point.
I'm still sticking to my original point. It's starting out that way. Again, if you're talking about that one, now we're dealing into the genetics where basically the Y chromosome is an addition and a modification to the basic body of the X.
And that's not female supremacist to say that.
No, neither is it male supremacist to say that males are individuals in a way that female can't be, because each one of their chromosomes is expressed 100% in every one of their cells, and that's not true in females.
What do you mean?
Look into X inactivation and bar bodies. Each female cell expresses either the X chromosome of the mother or the X chromosome of the paternal grandmother. It can't express both. When a male's born, a male expresses 100% the mother's X chromosome and 100% the father's Y chromosome. In order to keep, balances in a female, one of the X chromosomes has to be inactivated, and that inactivation happens in a spotty quilt-like pattern, and that's what produces the coats of calico cats. That's why a male calico cat will sell for $1,500 versus a regular calico cat you can pretty much get for $50, because a male calico cat is an XXY, has to carry both the two X chromosomes and then the Y in order to become male. See how that works? Tag.
I guess my point though is like, he slipped up a few times, making like poor generalizations. But is he explicitly stating anything, saying that women are superior, or that feminine spirituality is superior?
Yeah, that's what I'm taking him start to finish. He's saying nothing but there. He's saying nothing but the male is inferior to the female.
Wait, so then how come it's always so I mean, but in a sense, isn't the point of differentiation when males start to develop like male characteristics like in utero? I mean, if that's the point that diverges, like
they're already expressing their maleness before they start showing any visible signs. That's expressed in every one of their cells in their chromosome, because males never go through X inactivation like females do. That never happens to a male fetus. Entirely different developmental process. And if you're talking about the mammal XY sex differentiation, that's a much more recent development genetically. It started to come up a little bit among reptiles, but really that was much more of, it's less than 100 million years old. That's what I'm saying, is this whole interjection of the female superior. It's the femaleness starts exactly the same time as maleness. One can't predate the other. because one needs the other to reproduce.
Interesting. I mean, it definitely makes more sense within the context of, I mean, it's not how it's understood as a biblical narrative, but how, like, they come into existence at the same time. But anyway, I
Yeah,
want to
that
hear.
goes back to the primordial androgen. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to clear something up because I still hear this misconception a lot, and I understand why people say it, but it's incorrect, so let's stop saying this, everybody. I hear a lot that people all start off being female in utero, and then if you're going to be having male genitalia, then you're going to add that on later. That is absolutely not true. It's not true. It is an oversimplification of a very complicated process. If you want to know more about the nitty-gritty details of why this is not true, you can go watch my video.
Why do I have a feeling, Graham, that
development.
did you think that he was going to go in the opposite direction at first?
No, I didn't know where he was going to go.
Let's see. That said, I think all mammals are female before the Y gets to work. Is that right, Graham? That's what Usal asked.
Well, the Y starts working immediately. Both chromosomes start working, from the moment of, conception, when the sperm and egg join.
It's almost like the difference between working versus manifesting.
I guess. Like I said, it's as they develop, there's a stage where one of the two X chromosomes in each female, in each female cell has to be inactivated and become a bar body.
Mm-hmm.
And the male never goes through that. And that's one of the major different stages of development.
Today, I'm going to keep it pretty simple and just address this one point. So I hear that we all start off as female. This is not true. But the female phenotype is often referred to as the default, but it's referred to the default for a completely different reason. It is not the case that we all form female anatomy. You don't form a vagina, you don't form ovaries, you don't form labia, you don't form a uterus, and then later develop a penis, a prostate, all that, and then get rid of your female genitalia that you already developed. That's not at all how this works. So I'm going to go into this just really quickly. If you want details, go watch that other video. This is just bare bones information. So we all start off with indifferent gonads and indifferent genitalia. So if you go watch the other video, you'll know about the urogenital sinus. You'll know about the parent mesonephric duct and the mesonephric duct. You're going to learn about all those structures. But your gonads, so your testes or your ovaries, they start off being neither. It is neither a testis nor an ovary. So it's an indifferent gonad. And so when we start the process to differentiate, we have one thing that kind of kicks this whole process off, and that is SRY. So you either have SRY or you don't have SRY. If you have SRY, you're going to go down the testis pathway, okay? So SRY gives you testes. And then no SRY is going to give you an ovary. And we also have WNT4, but that's not a super important detail because everyone has WNT4. But this is why people say that female is the default, because in order to enter the testis pathway, you have to have the presence of SRY. And so if you don't have SRY, then you're going to get spontaneous formation of an ovary. So
it's kind of interesting, though.
You get an ovary, and that's why.
Check this out. I bet you. Let's see. Let's see. So how do you not typically, sorry, Freudian slip. How do you typically see the Trinity depicted? Okay, this is interesting. So if you look at it this way, apparently the Shield of Trinity has the Father on the left, the Son on the right, because you need this. But see, how can you have, like, in this case, the Son is not at the right hand of the Father, because the Father is on the left. So yeah, I guess you could say right hand by default, but really what it should be is this should be facing up, especially if you look at the Tree of Life. This would correspond with the supernal triad, not with one of the lower ones. But this is also emblematic of the whole idea of the cosmic womb because it's facing downwards. But let me see if I can find a depiction here.
Yeah, one of the things you're dealing with here is the problem of the flexibility of the Trinity symbol and usefulness. Because if you want to look at what I'm talking about basically the primal triad as being El Elyon, which then you have Yahweh and Asherah as the male and female, you know, Holy Spirit and Son, if you as you will. There are all sorts of ways you can rearrange that initial triad, but that's a simple one that explains the what I see as the male female emerging from the more primordial androgyne.
So here, look at this. This is what I'm talking about. So look, on the top you have here, let me zoom out a bit. On the top you have, and again, this idea of they're equating, Yahweh with Abba, but the idea of God and Father was originally El. So, and then the Son would have not been Jesus, but would have been Yahweh. And then, but notice this: the right hand of God, given. If you're saying, oh well, it's the right hand for God is actually on our left, but at the end of the day, no matter how you depict it, basically, this idea of the right hand of God, it's typically, or someone's right hand, the side associated with mercy, not always, but it's typically associated with femininity in contrast to the strength that's associated with masculinity. But also, if you notice here, what is this? What's this symbolizing here? It's the idea of Jesus as also looking at the symbol of the this cross that's behind him, the solar cross. That's a reference back to Sol Invictus, especially because is this in 3 parts? No, it's not quite a zodiac, but the point that I'm bringing up here is this idea that he's the lamb that was slain, but conquered death, and so you see he's almost carrying basically just this idea of a conqueror. Also, you have the flag with the red on it over the white. But then over here on the right, you have and this was the other thing. So notice this. So this is going upwards, but then downwards here. And again, I know this is just a specific stylization of it, but notice this. Within the upward trinity, you have within the upward triangle, you have a downward triangle. And within that, that's where you then get the idea of, okay, well, here's God on the left, and here's so really what it should be is something like, it would be El up here, it would be Elyon up here, it would be El down here, and it would be Asherah over here. And then within this here, it would be something like Yahweh and the Holy Spirit, and then down here would be the Son. And so it's like a fractal.
Yeah, you're seeing what I'm trying to describe, and the problem is that balance gets thrown off if you're starting with the female rather than the androgyne instead.
Agreed. But in a sense, you don't actually have creation with, you have a kind of creation, but it's almost like you don't have the initiation of creation into reality without the hieros gamos between the masculine and the feminine, which then produces, just real quick, which then produces almost like this fusion of it. So it's like where the androgyne is the undifferentiated, you then have the differentiation and reunion into the androgyne without this need to lose the distinction. And in the process, you create a new being, which is in some ways, you could view it's further removed from, but it's also in some ways superior to the original unpotentiated because it has further ability to be in the world.
Well, it actually becomes the world, because that's the point. Is in order you have both creation and creator. You can't separate the two, and that's the issue. Is traditionally, the immanent, you have the immanent and transcendent nature then, and they usually attribute the transcendent as creator and the immanent as creation, which then makes Ashira and the Shekinah the creation, and you can't be both the creation and the creator. That's the androgyne, the superior one that produces both the creator and the creation at the same time. Tag.
All right, so interesting. So notice this. So originally you start off with basically the the androgyne. Then you have down here it'd be El, and then over here would be Asherah. And then, they get transformed, and then eventually, El kind of just, he retires, gets fused with Yahweh. So then you have Yahweh here, and then you have, you have the Father here, you have the Holy Spirit here, and then down here you would have the, the idea of like the God child, or interestingly enough, it gets picked up in Thelema as the idea of the moon child, which is like this idea of a prophesied child to come, but like it's inverting a lot of the biblical ideas, which it's definitely interesting. But I couldn't see this and not see the Holy Trinity. I mean, it's kind of funny. Maybe that's just a sign that I'm. Oh shoot, I haven't had my dang. But yeah, maybe that's just a sign that I'm a religious studies student, because I am, and I can't see a triangle that has this idea of, indistinction. Then you have masculine and feminine. I mean, come on, like, I feel like any Christian would probably see that. I'm not a Christian. I'm just a religious studies student, but I do think it's kind of interesting. That would actually be, dang it, this would be interesting. Show this show this chart to people, just as they're walking on campus, and ask them what like what this evokes in them, without going into the context, and see of the people that say, well, I guess technically, see, that's difficult, because I mean, I guess you could ask everyone what their religious background is after they respond, and then just see how many of the people that say Christian actually also say that this evokes the idea of the Holy Spirit in them, or I mean, of the Holy Trinity. Anyway, just yeah.
No, what he's doing with it ties into what I've been seeing as a genetic connection between the gods and genetics, where you see the various generations of the gods as the progression of the genetics over the various different history of life on the planet, and where where you basically, like, mammalian genetics starts about the time that Aphrodite does, with the castration of Kronos, and and Aphrodite directly coming from his genitals, and I see that as basically the mammalian start there, and again, the foaming sea having to do with menstruation and all that tag.
How do you see the foaming sea having to do with menstruation?
Because that's very much how the endometrium works, where it basically it's like the waves of the sea, where it grows thick, and then it passes, and then it sloughs it off. And I see that as the equivalent of the foaming of the sea.
But how does that equate to the birth of Aphrodite or Venus?
Well, with the throwing the blood coming from the genitals of Cronus as well. If you're going after something specific, I'm not going for what you're heading on. Go ahead.
So I think it might actually be a reference to this idea of, well, think about it. What is water also an allusion for?
Well, blood, lots of different things.
No. So fire is to water as...
I'm not sure where you're going, Ariel.
All right. If you were to gender the four elements, how would you do so?
Yeah, no, fire male, water female.
So what I'm saying is, especially if you go with this tradition of this idea of, like, because Kronos, he's, I mean, in a sense, he's understood as a sky god, right?
Yes.
So gods of heaven, the heavens were associated with fire. Like, you have this idea of air, but that's like the air that the birds are in. Like, beyond that, you have the fire of the gods and the fire of the heavens. And so with that, you have the seed of the fire being dropped down and falling down to the earth, but ultimately it's notice you do have the tradition of what is this of Erichthonius of is it Athena and Hephaestus? That Hephaestus, I think he tries to assault Athena and he ends up he ends up emitting seed, and she like deflects it and it falls down to the earth, and he impregnates the earth, and it creates I think like a serpent, half serpent or something. I forget exactly what it was, but basically, so you have this idea of and even then, notice Hephaestus, he's a fire god, like a fire earth god, but he's
The other one interesting is both of those are the sole offspring of Zeus and Hera too.
What do you mean?
Well, Athena came from Zeus's head, and Hephaestus was basically Hera's revenge.
Interesting, but so what I propose is that on one hand you have this idea of the seed from the and also if you the seed from god of the heavens being dropped down into the waters or into the ocean, or into the essentially the cosmic womb, and out of that, but the other thing is the idea of the foam. I mean, basically it's the idea of, I'm not going to get graphic, but it's essentially referring to a change in viscosity, because like the seed of Kronos falls into the ocean and it turns to foam. Like it seems like it's probably also a reference to like to a very real thing that happens, but it's mythologizing it. And especially if you're so like on one hand you have this whole idea, the tradition of Kronos being castrated, but on the other hand there's the tradition, which it gets fused into one and the same, but this tradition of Kronos essentially emitting seed, or like his seed falling into the ocean. And so it's possible that these were originally two different myths, and it could have been centered around essentially a cult of like ritual seed emission, for lack of a better term. And that
Oh, go ahead, finish.
No, I was done.
No, I was going to say, it's one thing that's for certain is the Greek myths were very much a compilation, greatest hits version of pre-existing traditions. Because they didn't get started writing them until 700 BC. It was very much that classical Greece was a restart civilization.
Yeah.
And where this is coming in, as far as tying into the genetics, is I'm seeing Zeus and the Olympians as being the mammals that overthrew the Titans and the previous sort of form of genetic reproduction that the reptiles would use, because most reptiles, and like the dinosaurs, used an entirely different one. And that would then Zeus defeating Typhon would be the mammals defeating the reptiles and the ascent of the mammals, and that would correspond to the Titanomachi tag.
Well, only one problem I'd raise with that: how come Zeus is a bird? He's literally represented as an eagle. And I mean, obviously, he turns into a cow. So yeah, I mean, there's also that. So it could just be there's different traditions around Zeus.
Yeah, and unless I'm wrong, I want to say that probably a lot of the birds may be XY genetic reproduction. They are warm-blooded after all. I don't know. I'd have to look into the facts there. I don't know.
Yeah, but they're raptors.
What's that?
Eagles are raptors.
Yeah, descendants of there. But again, it's the same thing. Zeus is the Olympians are the descendants of the Titans. Same sort of generational succession.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We also said undifferentiated. Sorry, J2 over here, baby. I don't know what you're saying. Spiritual level of being said just gave you 2 likes. And then it was also said Flowers, spiritual level of being. And then who listened to Ed Dodge. No, the other guy was I think his what's it, girlfriend goddess or goddess girlfriend? I don't know. I mean, like, I definitely get where you're getting this idea, like, very much one-sided, but I think that, I don't know, it's also one of those things where it's like I try to take people at their word, not at what I think I'm hearing from that. But it's also one of those things where I definitely understand, like, I'm playing devil's advocate, whereas you're just looking at, like, I always am going to take the opposite perspective of what someone says. Given that doesn't mean I'm going to believe that. It just means I'm going to take it so that I can get a better perspective. And then later I will look at it from the perspective that that person was trying to tell me. But I feel like if you just immediately go into that, then you're not really being objective, because you're literally just looking at it from one perspective. If you look at it from both, given still not objective, but I think you can get a much better perspective.
I agree 100%. I basically, as I describe that as, you always test the null hypothesis. If a claim is being made, you always test the negative. Well, what if it's false? Too many people just they don't test the null hypothesis. And what you're just hearing my conclusion. You're not hearing my analysis process to arrive there. And I 100% agree. Anything that you don't agree with, you should push back on. Tag.
Yeah.
This is considered default. But there's a couple of other things that kick off this differentiation, which also contributes to the misinformation about this. So we have our testis, and then our testis is going to produce testosterone and DHT, giving us internal male genitalia and external male genitalia. The testis acts on the mesonephric duct to stimulate the maintenance of this duct, giving you internal male genitalia. So there you go. SRY kicks off the process to have both internal male and external male genitalia. And then likewise, if you don't have SRY, so the absence of SRY, you get external female genitalia, and then the paramesonephric duct gives you internal female genitalia. And then another reason why people say that female is the default is because the testis is responsible, once again, for producing testosterone. And testosterone is the next step in kicking off the next phase of the pathway. So the testis produces testosterone, which stimulates the mesonephric duct to stay. You get internal male genitalia, and then testosterone also, well, testosterone specifically, not specifically, but MIF, produced by the testis as well, is going to inhibit the paramesonephric duct from developing. So it's going to stop the internal female genital tract from developing. So this is why we say that it's a default, because without these signals over here from the testis, you would go down this ovarian pathway. But you do not get the ovarian pathway and then switch to the testicular pathway, unless you have a difference in sexual development. But no, we do not start off as female. We are not all female. We are indifferent, and then we enter one of these two pathways, or something happens along the way to where we enter both pathways or neither pathway. But we do not all go down the female pathway. So I hope this cleared it up. If you want more details, once again, go watch the indifferent stage video. That is longer, more in-depth on this process, and I will see you all in the next one.
All over the earth, God is raising up a new breed of...
Excuse me, a new breed? What are you talking about? This sounds like some Nazi shit.
wealth builders who'll use their...
Oh, wealth builders. It's a MLM, sorry. Not Nazis, just scam artists.
Are you saying the Nazis weren't scam artists?
No. I said, oh, just Nazi, or I mean, not Nazis, just scam artists. I'm not saying not Nazis, scam artists. I'm saying not Nazis, just scam artists. So actually, I wasn't saying that at all.
Gotcha. I just wanted to emphasize Nazis were pretty much scam artists.
I mean, to be fair, aren't most politicians or most political parties?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, the difference is not all political parties are responsible for mass genocide.
Yeah, a lot of them just aspire to it.
Or are complacent.
Yep.
Oh, wait, where are we? Here. Oh, wait, we finished that. So here, going back real quick to this.
It would seem that a large number of Jews went into exile in Babylon following the destruction of Judah. And then they became known as the Babylonian Jews. So here's a little bit about Asherah and the cosmic Shekinah. states, the significance of the goddess Asherah to the early Hebrew tribes is clearly illustrated in the fact that 40 references to her remain in the Old Testament. And you guys, goddesses are everywhere in the Old Testament. I don't know if you know this or not, but it's true. Sometimes disguised, sometimes diminished, but the goddess is there. For certain, the goddess is there. And we could talk about Mary Magdalene, but that's a whole other thing. I digress. So these references remain in the Old Testament books despite numerous changes to the writings as monotheism took over as the dominant religious style, and the goddess Asherah was otherwise excised from religious practices. So in other words, they were polytheists, then they were kind of forced into monotheism. At least that's how I see it. The divine feminine, however, was too important to be fully banished, and she soon reemerged as the unnamed wisdom goddess. The wisdom goddess drew on precedents from other cultures the Hebrews had been exposed to. Seeing, this is a quote, seeing wisdom as an Israelite reflection or borrowing of a foreign mythical deity, perhaps Ishtar, Astara, or Isis, end quote. And I believe that quote comes from Wisdom, Myth, and Mythology, an essay in understanding theological tradition written by Burton L. Mack.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear to me he's focused on the feminine tradition, and that maybe it's not a denial of the masculine tradition so much as it is a lack of understanding and attention on it.
He comes across as demeaning of it and minimizing of it to me. It's like anytime he gets a chance to throw shade on men and promote the female instead, he does.
Yeah,
Just listen to hear if he ever says anything about the male being equal or superior to the female at any point in time. If he doesn't,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's not saying that they aren't equal. What that's saying is that and again, he could think that, but at least by like literally the only thing that is implying is he's not paying any attention to the masculine side. It's not saying
and I'm saying no, he is. He does bring it up. When he brings it up, he's usually saying something negative about it or demeaning about it. Just listen. When he mentions the male aspect, it's usually this patriarchy negative, some sort of slam against the bad patriarchy and minimizing anything positive about the male aspect. That's what I'm getting out of what he's saying. If you hear where he's saying something positive about males or something non-negative about males, by all means, Ariel, point it out, and I'll sit there and admit I'm wrong.
But that's what I'm trying to explain to you. He's not saying anything positive, but that's not the same thing as saying something negative. Like he said
Ariel, I'm saying he does say stuff negative about males in his presentation here. When he sat there and said about that the writing in the male creator was a later interjection, that's one. I don't see how you can't see that as a slam against males.
I don't. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Why? Because that would imply that the original writing was 100% female as the creator. And I just don't see that anywhere reflected in the original writing. I see that as his fantasy wish fulfillment, and he wishes that was what it had originally written. And the biggest reason for that is writing is primarily a male activity. And if it's writing it, it's going to be written much more from a male perspective.
Yeah, but
And
we're not talking about writing. We're talking about stuff that goes far.
Yes, he is talking about writing, because he's talking about the original writing was female, and it was a later interjection into the writing about the male.
He's talking about the language, not the writing.
He was talking about the writing in that point.
He was talking about the names. It just so happens to be that those names later got written down. But like I really think that he's saying certain things that you associate with those ideologies. But I'm telling you, I haven't heard any of these things that you're talking about. I'm hearing it in a completely different light than you are.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is I'm explaining to you the words that I'm hearing and the meanings I'm attributing to it. And you're basically telling me he's not saying the words that I'm hearing.
What words are you saying that he's saying that you think I'm not saying he's saying?
Well, here's where I'm at. If somebody only says something bad about something, They
But
never say something
what is he
good.
saying bad? That he said it was an interjection? How do you understand interjection is bad?
He's saying that basically that was part of the patriarchal subversion of the matriarch of the female goddess. To sit there and interject the male creator was to undermine and demean and put the patriarchy above the entire female creator.
I mean, that did happen in certain societies. That's not to say that that's the fault
Well,
of the male
you're
god.
saying it happened in some societies. It's the question is you're being real fast and loose there. Which societies, at what point in time, when did it happen, and why? And what we're dealing with here is specifically the Hebrew text.
I mean, so in the case of that, I mean, given I don't know if this is evidence for you, but that the very first letter in the Hebrew Bible is a letter that's understood as feminine, that's associated with femininity, and on top of that, that the first word in the Hebrew Bible is a feminine word. Like like at the end of the day, I think the mistake would be to see that the creator is or like this idea of the creator. Okay, here's another thing. When God creates the world, he creates through his feminine counterpart. He's not
And
absent from the
and
creation.
that's you're saying exactly what I'm saying, and why I object to this guy's the female supremacy approach. It takes the male and the female aspect of it together to do creation. And he's saying the male aspect is irrelevant. It's or supplemental to creation. Creation is entirely female. That's when I'm throwing the flag. I very much disagree with his fundamental basis. And again, we can listen there, and I'll point out the things that I find as objectionable, if you want.
So what about the whole tradition of parthenogenesis? You there? Also,
Yeah,
if I
no, connection
yeah.
lag for a sec. Sorry.
Also, if anyone has any comments, any thoughts on this, I'd love to hear them because it's just me and Graham debating back and forth. But like, do y'all hear what Graham is hearing, or are you like, do you hear more what I'm hearing? I mean, it's the type of thing where I really think that so much of reality when it comes to interpretation or words is in the eye of or the ear of the beholder. Like again, that's not to say that I agree. He is not focused. He's not focusing on the masculine at all as a significant role that should be focused on. I understand where you're coming from. I just don't personally hear that he's actually going out and saying that like the masculine is evil and that women are superior. I just I mean a lot of what he's saying is,
I didn't necessarily go evil. I said inferior and secondary.
My point is I don't hear that as well, but basically a lot of what he's saying is in line with that dodge, and I think the mistake
I
is
have the same problem. I have the same problem with that dodge. I respect both of these guys. Their scholarship, I'm impressed by. They unearth a lot of incredible material, but their conclusion that they come to, and basically how they view reality as this basically is like they're entirely sold with the female creator, and I find it something I just can't agree with for the reasons we've been talking about. The androgyne is primary, and male and female are equal. They're different but equal, and I can't go with a female supremacy. It's just every bit as matriarchy is every bit as bad as a patriarchy.
So I guess the other thing here is that, like in a sense, the God that creates the world through the feminine creatrix is androgynous, but ultimately the one that the one that gets more directly identified with creation is the feminine, because she is creation, as opposed to it's like the creator versus creation.
Exactly. She is the creation. You have El Elyon.
Well, wait.
emanate-
Just to paraphrase, paraphrase, not the creation like as in that which is created, but the creation as in the act of creation.
Well, the act of creation, basically requires both the creation and the creator. They're not. You can't have one without the other.
No.
You need an active agent and a passive agent, and that's where you get the male and female from.
No. I get that, but what I'm saying is that you have the creator, which is androgynous, then you have creation.
No. I have El Elyon, who's androgynous.
That is the creator.
I disagree. As soon as you start attributing attributes to El Elyon or the source or the Tao, you go in error. The Tao is the Tao that cannot be named. Everything emanates from there. It's beyond description. So if you're sitting there and trying to say that's the creator, it's the source. It's not the creator. The creator is different than the source.
Yeah, but hold on. El Elyon isn't the same as Elyon.
Right.
So are you talking about Elyon, or are you talking about El Elyon?
El Elyon. The highest.
No, that's Elyon. El Elyon is the highest god.
Well, I'm talking about Abraxas, whatever the technical.
That would be Elyon, and what I'm telling you is that this idea of El Elyon, which is seen as El the creator, El the head of the pantheon. That's why he's called El Elyon, not because he is Hypsistos. Again, later on, you get this idea that they all are one and you can't separate them at all. But what I'm trying to explain, though, is that you have the androgynous, which is the creator, and then well, actually, wait.
Yeah, it could be that I was saying El Elyon in the sense of that was the head, the overall one, and El was the creator beneath him. And again, I just may have been using the terms differently than you were, and that's where some of that confusion was coming in. My apology if that's the source.
But my point is, you have the creator, then you have creation, not the creation. You have creation, and then you have the creation. It's the whole idea of like me, ma, and Ela. And so one of the Ela, like creation is feminine. The creation is both masculine and feminine. And then within that, it's basically you have this like almost the shifting, like within the original triad, you'd have, the androgynous being this creator of the masculine and the feminine, then the masculine and feminine then go on to create more. But where was I going with this? That basically, so first you start off with that, then you have El and Asherah, and then basically it's like the creator and then creation, like that which through the world is created, and then the world is like another manifestation of, or like the idea of the manifestation of God within the world, almost as like a kind of like an afterglow, or like it's a like a radiation that remains after the creation. But ultimately, I really think that in a sense, you don't actually get the first male within the Bible, unless you're reading the. Basically, here's what I'm arguing. Wait. So I guess it all depends on whether you view the creator as masculine or androgyne. But if you view the creator as androgyne, the first masculine like entity on the scene, unless you're considering it to be El or like Elyon, honestly, this is a tricky thing because so much of this is reconstruction, because we only have a few texts that actually mention Elyon or El Elyon. El Elyon's more reference than Elyon, which is one of the issues. And the fact that all the different names of God are understood as being unified makes it that looking back at ways it was understood previously makes it very difficult. But anyway, let's move on. So you were saying Usul said Chokhmah has talked about the whole book. This is just for wisdom only, coming from the masculine only. I'm not a fan of Dodge either. I haven't heard what you guys are listening to. And then the Tao isn't conscious. All right, but anyway, let's see, where was it? We need to go through this real quick. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Wait, no. Baruchu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. לא תהיה משקה לה ועקרה בארצך, את מספר ימיך המלא, את אימתי אשלח לפניך, והמותי את כל העם אשר תבוא בהם, ונתתי את כל אויביך אליך עורף, ושלחתי את הצירה לפניך, וגרשה את החיבי את הכנעני ואת החיתי מלפניך, לא אגרשנו מפניך בשנה אחד, פן תהיה הארץ שממה ורבה עליך, חיית השדה מעט מעט אגרשנו מפניך עד אשר תפרא ונחלת את הארץ, ושתי את גבולך מים סוף ועד ים פלישתים, וממדבר עד הנהר, כי אתן בידכם את יושבי הארץ וגרשתמו מפניך, לא תכרות להם ולאלוהיהם ברית, לא ישבו בארצך, פן יחתיו אותך לי, כי תעבוד את אלוהיהם, כי יהיה לך למוקש. Holy crap. I only translated a bit of that and it is pretty bad. So wait, where did we start? It was let's see, so much Loti okay. You will not mashkale, you shall not shakal. Oh. Shachal. Oh, no, or they will not be, or mashkela, there will not be any bereaved, ve'akara, or barren, in your land, at mispar yamecha, and the number of your days, amale, will be fold. Fold, not what did I just say? Fold, filled, or full. I got mixed up. Et emati, and my my horror, is that horror? Yeah, terror, same thing. And my horror I will send upon you, before you, vihamoti, and I will cause you to kill. No, hamat. It must be hamat as opposed to mot. Hamam, and I will make a noise. I will cause, like, I will cause chaos. I will cause panic, for all the over all the people, that come in you, or like come against you, vinatati, and I will give, all your enemies. I will give to all your enemies, elecha. I will give all your enemies, elecha, to you, or ref. I will give the neck of your enemies to you. Oh, it's saying that I'll make it so that that their neck will face you, or their back. So it's just like, but no, that's how it translates it. But let's be real, it's talking about this idea of right. I mean,
You're going to get to slit their throats, is what the meaning I'm taking from it.
No, your throat is the back of your neck. The front of your neck is your throat. The back of your neck is your spine.
Oh, beheading them, basically. Yeah.
No. That it could just be just like, or
Yeah. Killing with a knock on the head. Yeah.
Yeah, male. The reason you threw that out, I mean, it's right. That is male. Male. Let's see. Vishalachti, and I will send et Sarah. I will send trouble, distress. Ew. Wait. Oof. I don't know. I have a question, Graham. So there, behind door 1, you hear a buzzing sound, and behind door 2, you hear. Trying to think. All right. Behind door 1, you hear buzzing. Behind door 2, you hear someone whispering about a bioweapon. Which door do you walk through?
Probably door number 2, because if the person's whispering about the bioweapon, they're probably not infected.
Huh?
Well, if the bioweapon was active, they would be dead. So.
Well, no, but they could be working on it.
No, I'm still hearing people. It's just, again, the buzzing. Yeah, again, could be something. It could be bees for getting ready, or hornets, or something.
Yeah,
again,
but
you asked me my reasoning.
Okay. So, I guess in that case, we will translate Sirah as plague, but apparently it also gets understood as hornets, or that which ruins. So, okay, and I will send a bio. Well, no, there weren't bioweapons yet. This was just, unless you. I mean, I guess any weapon. I guess any disease is a bioweapon for God. Holy crap! God is one mad scientist. And see, this is one of the reasons why the idea of multiple gods or multiple divine entities is kind of useful, because you don't have to have one guy responsible for it all. It's kind of like, if you're a one-man band and you mess up you have no one to blame but yourself.
Oh, exactly.
Anyway, and I will send a plague before you and Gersha. Oh God. And it will expel the Hivites. Oh, I guess. Imagine if the Hornets are expelling the Hivites. It's like the Hornets should get along with the Hivites because they're like hives. I'm joking. It's super dark, but and they will expel the Hivites and the Canaanites and the Hittites from before you. So this is kind of eerie. I don't know whether the not founding fathers, but whether the actually, yeah, whether the founding fathers and the the sons of the revolution and the basically the people who are basically, I don't know whether the settlers knew the story well enough, but there's definitely some eerie undertones of the whole use of smallpox blankets in order to depopulate indigenous land. Gets kind of dark. Again, not to say that it wasn't used before. The Huns also used biowarfare. They would launch plague bodies into the towns that they were going to invade, and then that was interesting. And then I think
was going to say, with the settlers, also don't forget firewater, taking advantage of Indian susceptibility to alcoholism.
Yeah.
And
then opium in China.
Yeah, probably my favorite bioweapon of all time was Hannibal's snake bombs.
Snake bombs, interesting.
Yeah, no. After Hannibal lost with Carthage, he went over to the, what was the empire then?
Where?
It was the Seleucid Empire.
Oh.
He went over to Tyre and then got hired by the Seleucid Empire as an admiral. And he came up with the idea of snake bombs, where he basically put lots of poisonous snakes into jars and then launched them onto enemy ships.
The original Q.
Yeah, where the jars would break and then the snakes would start attacking everybody on the ship. And they totally routed the opposing navy in that fight.
Wait, so in other words, there's snakes on this ship.
Yep, snakes on the ship.
Right. And I will send. Oh, so I will send a plague. Oh, wait, I read that. And I will. And I will not drive Argashenu. And I will not expel. Wait. And I will not. And I will not expel. I will not. I don't know where the news coming from. Wait, Argashu. Lo Argashu. Argashnu. Argashenu. I'm missing this, but anyway, I will not expel Mifanecha. I will not expel them from amongst you in a single year, lest the land Shamama, lest the land is desolate, lest the land becomes desolate, and Viraba Alecha, and the beasts of the field will be great amongst it, or will multiply amongst it. Me'at, a little, little by little, Argashenu, I will drive them out, Mifanecha, from your midst, Ad Asher, until that Tifrei, until that you have been fruitful, V'nachalat, and inherited Etar, it's the land. Wow, this is really dark. I have never read that. I never read this text like this. And especially within, the context of everything. It's, yeah.
I was going to say, most people stop after 10, and they sort of skip on at that point.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's see, where are we? V'shati et gvulot, and I will place your borders. I will set your borders, meyam suf or meyam sof, from the Sea of Reeds, or alternatively from the Red Sea, or rather the Gulf of Aqaba, ve'adiyam plishtim, until the Sea of the Philistines, which is a reference to the Mediterranean. Mimidbar, and from the desert, ad hanahar, until the river. So that's that would have to be a reference to probably the Nile. Yeah, because if it's talking, from the down south up to there. Now you have to go. No, so that would have to be the Euphrates. Yeah, or it would have to be one of the great rivers. But it probably not the Nile, because unless it's talking about, it could be talking about the Syrian desert, in which case the opposite river, or the river would be opposite, which would make it the Nile. But actually, here, do we have map? Yeah, here. Let's pull this up. So Meyam Suf. So it's probably somewhere around here, but more likely somewhere around here. So here, let me close this. Okay, yeah, here. So Meyam Suf ad Yam HaPlishtim. So we're getting these boundaries. So from here to here, roughly, and what is this? Memidbar, from the desert, ad hanahar. So where's the river? I mean, I guess realistically the river is either going to be this first river, which would be, what is this? The Euphrates. And interestingly, it does reference this idea of being fruitful, and the Euphrates is from that same root. So it's possible that the river is talking about the Euphrates, and the desert would be the desert of, yeah, it would be referring to the Sinai, or what we now call the Sinai Desert. So this is interesting. The alternative would be to say that the Great River is the Nile, and
Or the Arabian Desert would make sense too, because that's a little closer to the Euphrates.
What do you mean? No. They have to be opposites, because we're seeing that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
see.
it's the Yam Suf until the Philistine Sea. So these are on opposite, because these are like the borders. They're opposite ends of the borders of Israel. And then the other, you would have either the desert being here in Sinai, or rather, what we now call Sinai Peninsula, or the desert would be up here in the Syrian desert, and then the river would be either way it works.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Going back to here. All right. Try them out from amongst you. Oh dear Lord. All right. Yeah, you shall drive out the inhabitants of the land from. Wait, Wait, I don't know if. Yeah. I will give into your hands the inhabitants of. Wait. Ad hanahar ki, because eten beyadechem, because I will give into your hands et yoshvei haaretz, the inhabitants of the land, vigarashtamo, and you will drive them out mifanecha, from amongst your midst. Lo tichrot, you shall not cut lahem with them, or Elohim, or Elohehem, or with their gods. You shall not cut with them or their gods a covenant, a brit. Lo yeshvu ba'artzecha pen yachatiu. Okay, so lo yoshve, the inhabitants in your land. Wait, they shall not be inhabitants in your land. Pen yachtiu, lest you sin, or lest they bring you to sin, or to err. Otecha, yachatiu otecha, bring you to sin, li, against me. Ki ta'avod, because avad, because you or for you will serve et Eloheham, you will serve their gods. Ki yihielacham limokesh, because it'll be for me like a it'll be for you like a bait, a slur, or a snare. Interesting. So we've got, I'm gonna check how far we're going. But yeah, you have any thoughts on that before we continue?
Nothing really. Sorry.
Happy 444. Okay, so we're just going to speed on. Ve'el Moshe amar alel Adonai ata ve'aharon nadav ve'avihu ve'shivim ziknei Yisroel ve'ishtachavitem merachok v'nigash Moshe l'avdo evado el Adonai vehem lo yigashu v'ham lo yahanu imo vayavo Moshe vayisaper laham et kol divrei Adonai ואת כל המשפטים והעין כל העם כל אחד ויאמרו כל הדברים אשר דיבר אדוני נעשה ויכתוב משה את כל דברי אדוני וישכם והבוקר ויבן מזבח תחת ההר ו12 מצבה ל12 שבטי ישראל וישלח את נערי בני ישראל ויעלו עולות ויזבחו זבחים שלמים לאדוני פרים ויקח משה חצי האדם וישם בגנות וחצי הדם זרק על המזבח ויקח ספר הברית ויקרא באוזני העם ויאמרו כולה שדיבר אדוני נעשה ונשמע ויקח משה את הדם ויזרוק עליו ויאמר הנה דם הברית אשר כרת אדוני עמכם על כל הדברים האלה. ויעל משה ואהרון נדב ואביהו ושבעים מזקני ישראל ויראו את אלוהי ישראל ותחת רגליו כמעשה לבנת הספיר וכעצם השמיים and the El Moshe Amar and God and to Moses Amar and to Moses spoke Ale El Adonai okay, this is what? So this says and to Moses spoke and to Moses said, so not Moses said, and to Moses was said, to Adonai you should go up to Adonai, you and Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, and 7 of the elders of Israel, and you shall bow down from afar. Who will bow down from afar? Now, what's this meaning? Because he's being told by a divine figure to go up to Adonai, but here it's saying, and God said to Moses, "Come up to Adonai." What? This doesn't make sense, right?
What do you mean it doesn't make sense? I mean, he's being ordered. What doesn't make sense is all those people going with him. I thought Moses was the only one who went up.
No, what I'm saying is he's being told by God to go up to Adonai.
Unless that's the angel of God speaking. Yeah.
It's possible.
That's usually the fallback whenever you have that problem.
But the way this gets understood or translated, it says, then God said to Moses, come up to Adonai. Well, if it was through an angel, he would say, come up to me. I think this is a reference to the Shekhinah, personally.
No, I think that's a valid interpretation.
Let's see. I'm waiting. Oh, duh. There's commentary. I don't know.
You don't say.
Yeah, I really don't. Let's see. Commentary. Let's see. That's a lot of Hebrew without really any much English. Oh, here. Let's see. And to Moses he had said, ascend to the Lord, according to the plain meaning of this. Let's see. El Moshe Amar referred to Moses having been instructed with this instruction, addressed with this instruction by the attribute of Hashem, the meaning of the words Ale, El, Adonai, which obviously cannot mean that Moses was to ascend to the region of Hashem, in that he was to ascend to the level of the angel Metatron, the angel whom we have already described as the Sar HaPanim, the minister of the interior. Oh, wow. What? That's wild. They literally took the name the minister of the interior in modern Hebrew from Sar HaPanim. Wow. The minister, the prince of the face, the angel to whom God, or angel of the presence, to whom God.
Do you think they knew that meaning existed, Ariel?
Maybe, I don't know. His universes also was cited in Sanhedrin when they said that the reason that angel is called Metatron is that this combines the two meanings in the separate languages. They are Adon and Shaliach. The reason that these are so is because in the language of our sages, a mixture of Latin and Greek at the time of Mishnah, a lady who commands great authority is called. Holy shit! You see this?
What?
Okay, listen to this. The reason that this is so is because in the language of our sages, a mixture of Latin and Greek at the time of the Mishnah, a lady who commands great authority is called Matrona. Holy crap. I just found what I was looking for. Wow. So this is directly connecting Metatron with the idea of Matrona. And this idea of this the prince or the ruler of the face, or the angel of the presence, it is connecting it with this idea. This is fascinating. So who's writing this? This is Rabbeinu Bachia. Wow. Okay, this is fascinating. So
definitely make note of that for later.
Yeah, I am. So this is the word also means shaliach, agent, emissary. As in Greek, such a messenger is known as mentor. This is still a third meaning, which is associated with the word matatron, which is the Aramaic equivalent of the Hebrew mashmeret, or custody or guardian. The name of that angel is Matatron, as is the custom of the world on behalf of God, who is known as the Shomer Yisrael, the guardian of Israel. Seeing that we have established from the meaning of his very name that he is the master of all that is below him in rank, all the heavenly hosts as well as those on earth are at his command and under his control. He acts as the agent of the one who is above his name. Wait, who? Is it saying Metatron? Seeing that we've established from the meaning of his very name that he's the master of all that is above him, below him in rank, all the heavenly hosts as well as those on earth are at his command and under his control. He acts as the agent of the one. So the one, it's not saying who. So this is not the one. This is Metatron, who is above him, the one who has given him this authority. His name is Adon Lebeto Umoshel Bekol Kanino. Oh, this is a reference to Joseph, probably master of his household and governor of all his possessions. Now, what's interesting is read this in the context of his wife, the mistress of his household and the governess of all his possessions. And the reason why I'm suggesting this is because there's this idea that the Shekhinah is referred to with masculine terms as well. So one of her names is Adon. You ought to appreciate that in accordance with the meaning of the word Adon, master, the letter Tet in the name Matatron appears twice. The reason for this is that the two letters Tet, when combined, have a numerical allusion of Chai, an allusion to the Chai HaOlamim, an expression of supremacy. Chai HaOlamim, the life of the eternal lives or life of eternities. Alternatively, the extra tet is an allusion to the ninth emanation, which derives its potency directly from the highest emanation, the 10th emanation. It is well known in Kabbalistic circles that another description of this angel, Metatron, is Na'ar, or the youth. This is the reason the firstborn of the Israelites have been referred to as Ne'arim in verse 5 of our chapter, where the Torah writes, Vayishlach et ha-Na'arei b'nei Yisrael, or et Na'arei b'nei Yisrael, Vaye'alu ulot. He sent the youths of the children of Israel, and they offered burnt offerings, or whole offerings. It is well to realize that at this time it is not an assent to God, which God had in mind, as it had been that there would not have been a point in including Aaron, his sons, and the elders in any point of. Okay, but let's see. Is it going to get back to it? Interesting. Okay, so here it says, let's see. They experienced it. All right. As a consequence of these instructions, the Torah adds immediately that these people who had not approached beheld what is reported in verse 10. They experienced a vision of the God of Israel in the form of a likeness of bricks made of sapphire under his feet, being as pure as the essence of heaven. In an interval, Moses alone approached more closely to the Arafel, as he had been told in verse 12, Allah Elai Hahara, ascend to me to the mountain and remain there, etc. This additional ascent, additional to what was commanded in verse 1, represented an additional spiritual elevation on the part of Moses until he actually entered the cloud. The next step occurred in verse 18, where the Torah reports Moses is entering the cloud, ascending the mountain, and remaining there for 40 days. You're already aware that this angel is the one who was the cause of Elisha ben Avuya making a grievous error, resulting in his heresy, when he formed the opinion that there are two domains of divinity. Compare 𐤌𤔥𤐐𝐤𝐿 15, in basically two powers in heaven. The same is liable to happen to anyone who does not exercise extreme care in contemplating these verses. Perhaps the reason that this paragraph has been written immediately after the previous paragraph concluded with the word mokesh, a trap, is to warn that this chapter must be read with more than ordinary care. It is a veiled warning that he who is not extremely careful when studying this chapter is liable to fall into a theological trap. The error committed by the people who served the golden calf by Nadav and Avihu, compare authors' comments on Leviticus 10:1, may be traced to misreading what is written in our chapter. Of all the great scholars delving into the matter, only Rabbi Akiva escaped with his mind and body completely intact. How was it that only Rabbi Akiva succeeded where others had failed? How much more? Okay, yeah. Where all others had failed. This is what our sages meant when they said that Rabbi Akiva realized that there are other powerful angels of the caliber of Metatron, thus precluding the error that because Metatron was unique, he was a divinity. Interesting. The sages based this on Deuteronomy 33:2. Ata merivavot kodesh. Whoa! Holy crap! This is literally the same thing where there's a potential reference to Asherah. This is literally connecting so many things together. The sages based this on Ata merivavot kodesh, that when God gave the Torah, he had come with some of the myriads of holy beings. The reason God is called Adonai Tzvaot is precisely because he is the master of all these holy beings. What, dude? This is insane. Oh, shoot, I just lost it. This was Rabbeinu Bachia. This is literally, I think this is one of my favorite things that I've found.
Cool.
Wait, is this? Oh, yeah, here it is. So I'm taking a picture of this. Dude, I have a new friend that... Oh, no, I just lost it again. But I have a new friend who would appreciate this. So I'm going to show this to her. Eventually. Okay, let's see. Where was it? Bachia. Here it is. Oh, wait, don't lose it. Here. This is literally so wild. So wild. I'm sending this to Avi. All right, let's see. Check out the source, Avi. It is literally so insane. It connects a bunch of my theories. I might write up a thing about it so you don't have to, but just check it out and tell me what you think. Just send him a message. Hi. All right. Vinny. All right. And you and Aaron and Nadav and Avihu and 70 from the elders of Israel, and they will bow down from afar. V'nigash Moshe levado, and Moses approached by himself, El Adonai to Adonai, v'hem lo yigashu, and they did not approach. V'ha'am lo ya'alu imo, and the nation did not ascend with him. Interesting. The nation did not go up with him, and he didn't enter with them into the promised land. Notice that?
Yep. Seems like a tit for tat.
Yeah. Oof. Oh, sorry. I just have like a painful sore in my mouth right now. It's like, I don't even know what it's from. I think it's probably from eating too much sour candy. I am a sucker for sour candy. But it hurts. Right, where was I? Vayavo Moshe vayisaper la'am, and Moses went and vayisaper, and he told to the people all the words, the Adonai, all the words of Adonai, ve'et kol hamishpatim, or all the declarations of Adonai and all his laws, or rules. V'ya'an kol ha'am, and the whole nation responded, kol echad, with one voice, a single voice, vayomru, and they said, kol hadvarim asher diber Adonai na'aseh. And they said, all the words, or all these commandments that we have been commanded, or all these things that we have been told by Adonai, we shall do. Vayichtov Moshe et kol divrei Adonai, and Moses wrote down all the words, or all the sayings, all the things of Adonai. Vayashkem baboker, and at the rising of the morning, vayiven mizbeach, he built. Oh, wow, I'm getting really good with the Vav conversives. I'm just reading it automatically how it should be. I don't even notice anymore. And he built an altar tachat hahar, below the mountain, or at the foot of the mountain. It says ushte mesre, and 12 matzivah, 12 matzivot, or standing stones, lishneim asar shivtei Israel, for the 12 tribes of Israel. Vayishlach et na'arei b'nei Israel, and he sent, or he appointed. It was saying he made emissary, or he designated emissaries. Is that what it says? Na'arim construct. Oh no, he designated, and he sent some youths of the children of Israel, and they went up, and they went and they sacrificed whole burnt offerings. And they went up a lot. And they went up going. Vaya'alu, and they went up. I feel like Ya'al. Oh, that's what it was. Wait, Ya'al. Huh. Oh, shoot. Let's see, Vaya'al. I have no clue what it's trying to say. Some assistance. No. When the Israelites offered burnt offerings, sacrifices. All right. And they went. I went up and sacrificed whole burnt offerings. Like whole burnt offerings and peace sacrifices, or like well-being sacrifices. Tadonai, Parim, to Adonai, bulls. Oh, they started sacrificing bulls. Vayikach Moshe, and Moses took Chetzi Adam, took half the blood, and he placed Vayashem be'agonot, in like bowls. Yeah. V'chetzi Adam zarak al hamazbeach, and half of the blood was like left standing. was scattered over or across the Mizbeach, the altar. Vayikach Sefer Habrit, and he took the book of the covenant, Vayikra be'oznei ha'am, and he called out into the ears of the people, Vayomru, and he said, Kol asher diver, all that has been said, or Kol asher diver Adonai na'aseh v'nishma, and all, and they said, and he called out to the ears of the and he took the book of the covenant and he read it out into the ears of the nation, and they said, all that Adonai has said, na'aseh, we shall do, v'nishma, and we shall listen. First they say na'aseh, first they say we'll do, then they say we'll listen. So they don't read the contract before they sign it. Vayikach Moshe et hadam, and Moses took the blood, vayizrok, and he scattered scattered it upon the people. Vayomer hine, and he said, behold, dam habrit, the blood of the covenant, asher karat Adonai, that Adonai has cut imachem, with us, or with you all. Al kol, interesting, he doesn't say with us, he says with you. Upon all these command, or all these declarations, this is the blood of the covenant that Adonai is now making with you concerning all these commands. Okay, interesting. Via al Moshe, and Moses went up on Moses and Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, and the 70 elders of Israel went up. Viru at Elohe, and they saw Elohe Israel. They saw God of Israel, Vitachat, and sorry, one second. Vitachat. Where are we? Israel. And they saw the God or gods of Israel, and Vitachat Ragalav, and below his feet, or under whose feet, it says Kima'aseh were like works, livnat of livanat, either livanatas appear, like potentially either white. It says, livnat says is pavement, but Royal City of the Canaanites in the south was captured by Joshua, alluded to, allocated to. Livna, I'm pretty sure it could also be Livna. I thought it has something to do with white as well, but anyway, so with stones or tiles or pavements of hasapir, of sapphire, or literally of lapis lazuli. Yeah, here you see lapis lazuli. Uke etzem, and whose bones are like the pure are and the bones of the heaven. And which are which are like at essence, or which are like the essence of the sky, of the purity of the sky. Ve'el atzile b'nei Yisrael, and here it also says atzile, like atzel, and the corner chief side atzil, the chiefs of, and to the chiefs of the children of Israel. But it says God did not. And to the chiefs of the children of Israel, lo shalach yado, he did not send out his hand. Vayechezu yachaz, or chazah, and he did not, and they did not perceive at Elohim, and they did not perceive, or wait, chazah. There must be another one. They did not behold. And they did not behold Elohim, or it says that and they beheld Elohim, and they ate and they drank. Oh, wait, I didn't read. I didn't do that yet. So here I'm going to take a quick break just to give myself a kind of quick refresher. But any thoughts in the meantime?
Just the whole, like I said before, about the sapphire floor being indication of it, that happening in Petra. Again, that they're conflating a bunch of mountains here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the whole interesting that they're up seeing everything, and the idea that you can't see Yahweh, but you can't see Yahweh without dying.
Yeah.
Just a lot of the trying to inconsistencies. Tag.
Alignment system, so to speak, from the highest world all the way down to the lowest world. It becomes physical. To create, is the heaven and earth. Okay, so therefore, what happens every day? Every day, there's a constant renewal of the entire alignment system, so to speak, from the highest world all the way down to the lowest worlds. Okay, Marshal, like the Marshal of the Neshama, Hamishpatim is the book that reveals itself in the body. First comes into the brain, then Dibur, and then the Adayim Maisa. Right, the highest faculties of the head, which is Seichel, and then you have Machshava, and then you have Dibur, and then you have Maisa. And this is the level of higher and lower in both in Ruchnish and Gashmias. Where does this come from? Hamachadish, where does it come from? Betuvei. It doesn't only say Hashem renews the world every day. It says Betuvei, but His goodness every day, which is Midas Tuva Sever Rachmanuse. Hashem Pasha does it as a favor, as a Rachmanus on us.
It's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new start.
No.
No, I mean, it's a new thing.
Yeah, but even without you, it's still it's a new thing. What do they say? Every day of your life is the beginning of your new life. Okay. Like it says, so he says like this. Right? Hashem is infinite. The highest, the lowest, it's all equal by him. It's all the same. So what's Hashem's kindness? The Tuvei, that He comes down to create a physical world by first limiting Ruchnius, and then limited Ruchnius comes into Gashmius. That's what we say. He's the master of wonders. Even wonders, which are not miracles. There's nisim and niflois. Miracles are supernatural, but you can get them a little bit. Niflois it's wondrous. It doesn't even make sense in the realm of miracles. So niflois is such a lofty level that everything is the same. Higher and lower, it's all this. Now we come along and say, not only is Hashem niflois, He's adayna niflois. That means He's even higher than niflois. He says, Pirish, afilu b'chinas niflois, even the level of wonders. Shein al mitznimin, which are the hidden world, which everything is equal, high, low, gashmi, it's all the same. Have no connection to Hashem whatsoever. Like it says, He does wonders, meaning shabachinas pela or b'chinas asiya. We say also daven eisei fela. It matters, right? Eisei fela means He does wonders. But here, like it says, kulam b'chachma asisa doesn't only mean you did everything with wisdom. It means compared to you, chachma, the highest level, and asisa, which is the lowest level, are all the same. The same thing, eisei pela, eisei means asiya, the lowest level. Pela means the super high levels. So what are we saying? Eisei fella, that by compared to Hashem, the lowest level asiya and pela are the same thing. Why? What's causing this connection to of the nefesh with elokus? Because the neshama l'mayla has an understanding of the chayis mispashim and tabar lachas elimus. That's causing the longing. Okay, meaning the neshama l'mayla has this understanding of Hashem. How great the chayis of elokus is. So he says, in other words, the second aspect of it is the neshama comes to realization that I love something that basically is too far away from me. And that causes an awe that you realize I'll never get it. So you're on your present level. Yeah, you can never get there. Why? Because He is the master of wonders. He could do wonders. Meaning, therefore He's called Neira Sihila. That is the order of fear. Meaning, the neshama l'mayla can't reach the level of its understanding of elokus. Cannot. It can't. Because it's beyond understanding. But this is what he's saying. But down here, the Alter Rebbe asked the question, how can down here, through Torah mitzvahs, which is still a neshama in the body, how can that reach a level higher than the neshama's hasaga upstairs? Yeah, so the Alter Rebbe is explaining, what's the hasaga, what's the understanding of the neshama up there, all that stuff. Yeah, so the neshama understands that this that it understands, elokus, l'mayla, is really nothing compared to what a locus is. But down here, he's going to explain, through Torah mitzvahs, you can reach the level of Adon Neflois. No, the neshama l'maylas hasog is not in Yechidah.
But yeah, so do you have any thoughts on? I want to see if I can find anything on that whole idea of the Matrona.
No, I have some ideas of Metatron from the Book of Enoch, but where you're going with it, that's novel territory to me.
Wait, it is old or isn't?
No, it's places you're taking it places I haven't made those connections, so I don't have much to say on that. I have explored, like I said, Metatron via Book of Enoch and such.
This week's Parsha is Parshas Vayishlach. The Medrash relates as follows. Shalom Matrona as Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta. There was a certain noble woman that asked of Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta the following. How many days did Hashem engage was he busy creating the world? So he said it was 6 days. And he brought the verse in Shemos. That in 6 days Hashem created the heavens, and it continues in the earth. So she said to him, so he did that for 6 days. What has he been doing? What has he been doing till now? So he said to her, he's making these ladders. He's making ladders. For one he lifts up, for the other he brings down. For one person he makes rich, and the other person he makes become an inheritor. So the Medrash ties this in. This incident ties it in with this week's Parsha. We see this when Yaakov he went to Aryam Narayim. The verse brings down that Yaakov says, that I came, all I had was a stick. Not only do we see this verse showing how poor Yaakov was, but we see that when he went to lie down, he had to take from the stones of that place to put under his head. Did he not have a pillow or a blanket? That he could use, otherwise, if he had, he would have used that instead. But then when he went into the house of Lavan, pasture, he started to gain wealth.
Name was
As you see in the verse,
so let's see what else we can find, if anything.
You know, I was going to say, a thought occurred to me there. It's like, we know that it took him 6 days. How long did he work each day? A late hour day, did he just, put in 10 minutes and then watch cat videos for the rest of the day like some people do? Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm not finding anything specifically on this. Right. Let's see. See Matrona. Maybe let's search for Kabbalah. Yeah, not seeing anything. Okay. Where were we? Oh, excuse me. Here, let's continue with this.
1970. Back to Sarita speaking. Following the period where the wisdom goddess occurred in texts, around the 3rd century BCE to the 2nd century CE, came the naming of wisdom as the Shekinah in the 1st, 2nd century CE, Onkelos Targum. I mentioned Onkelos Targum. So that's the second time I mentioned that, so I guess I'll tell you what that is. The Onkelos, Onkelos, Targum, that is the primary Jewish Aramaic translation of the Torah. That is Onkelos Targum, apparently also known as Targum Onkelos. Contemporary with the Shekinah and drawing on some of the same earlier sources, we see the Gnostic wisdom goddess Sophia. So there's your link between Sophia and the Shekinah and Asherah. There are many parallels between these two goddesses. See, she calls Sophia a goddess. Parallels between these two goddesses which suggest cross-fertilization of ideas it seems apparent that both the Shekinah and the Sophia influenced perceptions of the Christian Holy Spirit and the Virgin Mary, seen in textual references to titles and motifs. The Islamic figure of Sakina is clearly derived from the Shekinah, both through her name and also the references to her in the Quran. Ancient textual evidence does not link the Sumerian goddess Lilith to the Shekinah. Okay, didn't say that it did. By the way, that's also an upcoming episode. We're going to talk a lot about Lilith with an author who writes for Girl God books. I'm very excited about that, but no spoilers. Well, I suppose that was a spoiler, right? But it's going to be about Lilith. But anyway, that's going to be good. Anyway, so before I run out of time, I want to talk a little about Asherah, because I promised you Sophia, the Shekinah, and Asherah. So Asherah, I found this really great journal article that was published in the Journal of Biblical Literature, volume 105, number 3, September 1986, written by John Day. Again, that's the name of the article is Asherah in the Hebrew Bible and Northwest Semitic Literature. You know, and you thought journal articles weren't exciting. So let me clarify something, because somebody used this word a lot. Ugaritic, Ugaritic, is an extinct Northwest Semitic language. It's an extinct language, a dead language, if you will. I'm gonna have to look into this more, because I'm just cursory browsing the internet and I see something that says Ugarit was an ancient port city in northern Syria in the outskirts of modern Latakia. And it was discovered by accident. I will have to get more into that. Discovered by accident in 1928 together with the Ugaritic texts. Super interesting, because it was excavated. The excavation began in 1928 and continues, apparently. It's interesting to me how we discover not only figurines and ancient runes, but that we also occasionally get lucky and uncover texts that shed a whole new light, sometimes leading us to the conclusion that, you know, that we've gravely misunderstood something. So I think that's fascinating, and in my personal worldview with my head honcho goddess, I think that those discoveries are certainly divinely inspired. So back to this journal article. Let's see, John Day, the guy's name is John Day. Let's see what John Day has to say. Okay. Until the discovery of the Ugaritic texts in 1929 and subsequent years, it was common for scholars to deny the very existence of the goddess Asherah, whether in or outside of the Bible, and many of those who did accept her existence wrongly equated her with Astarte. Since the discovery of the Ugaritic texts, however, no one can deny that there was a Canaanite goddess, Asherah, independent of Astarte, and it is generally accepted that this same goddess appears a number of times in the OT, I don't know, in the original text. I think that's what OT means. Help me out, academics. Though even today, still, there are a few scholars who refuse to face the facts. So just a brief note about this Astarte that he's talking about. Astarte is the Greek name for Ashtart, who, along with Asherah and Anath, was one of the three great goddesses of the Canaanite pantheon. So the Canaanites had a whole pantheon, and there were three goddesses in it.
That's reductive.
So just to kind of drive home what we talk a lot about on the show, that, you know, the gods and goddesses of the Greeks and Romans were not original to them. They were kind of co-opted from those who came before them. So these are all like Hellenized forms
Not Mesopotamia, the Levant, and before the Levant, Mesopotamia.
So these are all like Hellenized forms.
Well, that's sort of the female version of the Frasier trying to fit everything into the dying and rising god motif. People always try to fit all the female goddesses into that the triple goddess motif.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
Gods and goddesses of the Greeks and Romans were not original to them. They were kind of co-opted from those who came before them.
Oh, those who came.
So
not
these are all
sorry,
like Hellenized forms of ancient Near Eastern goddesses. So, for example, Astarte,
Aphrodite,
is a Hellenized form of Ashtart.
Oh,
and the Greek equivalent of that
Aphrodite.
is Aphrodite, and the Roman equivalent of that is Venus, and the Sumerian equivalent of that is Inanna. Same goddess. So, in the Hebrew Bible, in the Book of Kings, which is also, I believe, the Book of Kings.
Is he might be bringing up a knot to Athena, Inanna.
His books, Kings 1 and 2, in the Christian Old Testament, same book. But in there, and I'm not sure exactly where, I was unable to track that information down, but in the Book of Kings, we're told that a statue of Asherah was housed in Yahweh's temple in Jerusalem and that female temple personnel wove ritual textiles for her in that location. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier or not. The other symbolism and iconography associated with Asherah was a tree, and they would make Asherah poles, kind of like a maypole, but not really.
So I mean, I definitely think this guy has some blind spots, but like at least in the past, since I started playing this again, did you hear any like huge red flags?
No, everything he's saying here is solid stuff.
Anyway, I didn't want to get too off topic. I just because I didn't even finish this because I actually have to get up in just like about 4 hours. Shit, it's not perfect. So I'm going to finish this up now. Let's see. We have. All right. ואל הצילי בני ישראל לא שלח ידו ויחזו את האלוהים ויחלו וישו ויום and so I already read that. So I'm just going to finish. So ויאמר אדוני אל משה העלה אלי ההרה והיה שם ותנה לך את לוחות האבן והתורה והמצווה אשר כתבתי לאורתם. ויחכם משה ויהושע משרתו ויעל משה אל הר האלוהים ואל הזקנים אמר שבו לנו בזה עד אשר נשוב עליכם והנה אחרון וחורים אחם מבעל דברים ייגש עליהם ויעל משה אל ההר ויכסה ענן את ההר וישכון כבוד אדוני על הר סיני ויכסהו הענן 6 ימים ויקרא אל משה ביום השביעי מתוך הענן ומראה כבוד אדוני כשוכלת בראש לעיני בני ישראל ויבוא משה בתוך הענן ויעל אל ההר ויהי משה בהר 40 יום ו40 לילה 40 יום ו40 לילה משה בהר 40 יום ו40 לילה משה בהר 40 יום ו40 לילה. So, where's it? Baruch atah Adon. Wait. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam natan v'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. And on that note, we're going to finish up in a moment. I just wanted to close out that last one video because we just had a few minutes left.
Anyway, so in
Oh, wait. I totally forgot to translate that. But you know what? Technically, it's fine because I already finished reading the Hebrew, so I just need to translate it now. Okay. And Adonai said to Moshe, "Come, or like ascend to me on the mountain, and it'll be there, and there will be, and there I will give to you the luchot, the tablets of stone, haven, the Torah, and the Torah, the teachings, the mitzvah, and the commandments that katavti lahoratam, that you've which you have written, as I told you, or which you have written to instruct them. All right, let's see. And Moshe and his yakam, his attendant, I guess that's how they translate. Moses and his assistant or his attendant, or no, Moses and Joshua rose, or Moses and Joshua, his assistant, attendant, arose. V'ya'al Moshe, and Moses went up onto the mountain of God. The El Hazaknanim, and to the elders he had said, Shavu Lanu, we will return to us here until, stay here until that we return to you. And behold, Aaron and Hur will be with you. Mi Baal Dvarim, who is the master of the things, Dvarim Migash Alehem, that is coming, who is a legal matter to, but it says Mi Baal, who is a master in Dvarim, in things that you will approach them. Via al Moshe el Hahar, and Moses went up onto the mountain, and he Yakas, and Hanan, and the cloud concealed the mountain. Vaishkan kavod Adonai, and the glory, and the weight, literally, of God, Yishkan dwelled. But so the glory of God dwelled upon the mountain of Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days, and to Moses cried out. So this is what's interesting. It says on the 7th day, El Moshe was cried out El Moshe to Moses, and it implies God, but it doesn't actually say here. So someone cried out to Moses, but Yom Hashvi, on the 7th day, mitoch hanan. Someone called out to. I think this is a reference to Asherah, personally, but again, that's my. I mean, we know that Shekhinah is referred to as such, but what's it say? Commentary on this. The glory of the Lord abode. Actually, okay, it erased it all on the mountain, Mount Sinai. Okay, let's see. Moses had approached the thick cloud which enveloped the higher regions of the mountain beyond which was God's presence. Okay, let's see. And 7th day he called unto Moses. There was no reason for the going's question. Why didn't Moses go up to the top of the mountain? When he went up at first, Moses was not able to go up without permission. Interesting. And the attribute kavod of Hashem rested on Mount Sinai. This is the line which has been mentioned in connection with 21. God said all the words I have elaborated. Okay, let's see. Cloud covered the mountain. Torah. Bach, yeah, okay. He called Moses on the seventh day. This was the day after the Ten Commandments had been given at Mount Sinai. Okay, I'm just going to see if there's like a really cool song here. Let's see. Out of the cloud, seeing that during the preceding 6 days Moses had been covered by the cloud and had not proceeded further, the Torah now had to tell us on the seventh. Okay, let's see. Okay. Yeah, it's nothing particularly interesting I can find. Now the cloud covered it. Yechasuhanan covered it. Let's see this Rashi. The mountain. Yeah, nothing I can really find. All right. From the midst of the cloud. Okay. Umare kavod, and the glory of Adonai was seen, or the presence of the glory of God. The appearance of the glory of God was like fire, connecting it potentially to the idea of Eshdot, also to Asherah being connected with Esh in it. Like a fire consuming Berosh Hahar upon the top of the mountain. Le'enei b'nei Israel, in the eyes of the children of Israel. Vayavo Moshe, and Moses came b'toch ha'anan, from the midst of, into the midst of the cloud. Vaya'al el hahar, and he went up to the top of the mountain. Vayehi Moshe, and so was Moses, was on the mountain. Arba'im yom, 40 days. Va'arba'im laila, clearly, and 40 nights. Clearly echoing back to this tradition of 40 days and 40 nights with Noah. And so now I just kind of want to do that again, just because now we're properly doing it. So Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. And then let's see, now we'll finish this up. Or is it here?
I was going to say, I did have one quick thought there.
Yeah.
There's also that line about,
And that is, it seems to me like there's a possibility that Hur is a substitute for Miriam.
What do you mean?
Because, well, earlier on, you usually had the Moses, Aaron, Miriam trinity going on. And all of a sudden, once they started the conquest of the Holy Land, it became Moses, Aaron, and Hur. Tag.
It's possible. I don't even really know who Hur is, but that's something to look into another time.
I didn't either. It just stood out to me, especially since I didn't have a clue who he was, and somebody
and if
who I
you've
don't
heard anything
know.
about Asherah
being a
before, you already know
substitute
this.
for
That
Miriam.
in Kings 23:6, it says the king removed the Asherah pole from the Lord's temple. I would presume that's that temple in Jerusalem, and took it outside Jerusalem to the Kidron Valley, where he burned it. Then he ground the ashes of the pole to dust, and threw the dust over the graves of the people. He also tore down the living quarters of the male and female shrine prostitutes. Okay, I don't know how they knew they were prostitutes, but they turned Mary Magdalene into a prostitute too, so who knows? Female shrine prostitutes that were inside the temple of the Lord, where the women wove coverings for the Asherah pole. So I guess that's where they wove their textiles. Anyway, so I'm getting a little riled up about it, right? I despise the rewriting of history, though I understand that as a human race, we are moved by things like fear and ego and pride and all that stuff. All that stuff that for me really doesn't jive with that moral code we talked about earlier. At least not mine, but we are humans, and as humans, I think we do the best that we can. And those of us on a goddess path or any other spiritual path, we do try and rise above that. And that's the goal, right? To be, in simplest terms, to be a good person, knowing that, perfection of that is never something that we're going to accomplish, but we signed up to strive for it anyway, right? At least that's my theory on what spiritual people do. So, coming up on time, I promised you Sophia, Asherah, and the Shekinah, and I managed to deliver all three. So, look at me, podcast host. Look at me, who can't pronounce ancient words. Anyway, thanks for... Look at me, podcast host. Look at me, who can't pronounce ancient words. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. Stay tuned, and I will talk to you next week. Hey, thanks for listening. New episodes drop every Saturday, so keep tuning in. You can also find the
That's why Hashem asked Moshe Rabbeinu to throw them along to Yaakov
Now we're
Avinu,
talking
and
about
has
his
now
Parsha.
become a mateh that possesses the power lehatot, to defeat the Yetzer Hara, evil inclination, and to tilt and sway the hearts of Am Yisrael to believe in their God. That's why Hashem asked Moshe Rabbeinu to throw the mateh to the ground, and it became a snake. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was hinting to Moshe Rabbeinu and to all of Am Yisrael that if they're going to cast away the mateh, if they will throw away the staff of faith, the Nachash HaKadmoni, the primordial serpent, will be aroused. The same serpent that influenced Adam and Chava will infiltrate their heart with thoughts of doubt and confusion about Hashem. But then Hashem told Moshe to stretch out his hand and grasp the tail of the snake. And when he did, the snake turned back into a mateh in the palm of his hands. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was showing Moshe that he possessed a tool capable of defeating the Yetzer Hara, and that the mateh would sway the hearts of the Jews to follow in the footsteps of Yaakov Avinu, to believe in Hashem wholeheartedly. So Hashem tells him, this is your sign, Moshe. It's the staff that you're holding in your hand that's going to make the people believe that I did indeed appear before you, and that I will redeem them from the hands of their oppressors. From all the nisyonot and challenges of life, I'm going to redeem them. I want to conclude with the following idea. And before I even conclude with this idea, I do once again want to take the time to thank so many of you for reaching out without me even having to say, and for donating to every possible cause that we have. We are now in the 2 months of Adar, months that are misgal, that have the auspiciousness and the ability to bring so much joy and so many miracles, and to overturn sadness into joy. And one of the incredible zrulot of these months is tzedakah, to be charitable, and especially to be charitable towards poor people, towards the maintenance and promotion of Torah. So I thank you so very much for reaching out with your help to needy families, with your help to the mikvah, with your help to build our Ohel Sarah apartment, which we hope to one day own very soon in the near future. Thank you so very much for all that you do. And Hashem should give you tremendous, say amen. So let me conclude with the following idea. The Yaakov Avinu's staff eventually ended up in the hands of David HaMelech. We see that when David went out to do battle against the giant Goliath, the pasuk in Sefer Shmuel says the following: Vayikach maklo beyado. David took his staff in his hand, and then what did he do? He picked out 5 smooth stones from the brook, and he put them in his shepherd's pouch, which he had in his knapsack. Then he took his slingshot in his hand, and he approached Goliath the giant. What happened concerning this war with the Pelishtim that was led by Goliath the giant? The Gemara of Sotah informs us that Goliath approached Am Yisrael's encampment every single morning and every single night. For what reason? Rabbi Yochanan alav shalom states, in order to distract the people from reciting the giant. The Gemara of Sotah informs us that Goliath approached Am Yisrael's encampment every single morning and every single night. For what reason? Rabbi Yochanan alav shalom states, in order to distract the people from reciting the morning and evening tefillah of Kriyat Shema. In other words, this evil man's sole purpose was to weaken our faith in God. So when David went out to do battle with Goliath without any armor, what did he take with him? Maklo beyado. He took a staff in his hand. He armed himself with the staff of faith that he had inherited from Yaakov Avinu. David HaMelech was now facing a very difficult battle, a tremendous nisayon, a tremendous challenge. And the staff he held in his hand was the staff that helped Yaakov remain strong in his emunah when he felt impoverished. That same staff which gave him the strength of what? The makel, me'olam kivinu lach, forever we hope in you, God. Yaakov put his trust only in Hashem. And David adapted the same doctrine. And he told us so in Sefer Tehillim, because what is one of his most famous lines? Gam ki alech begeitz al mavet, even if I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, even if I am overshadowed by death, Lo ira ra, I will not fear evil. Ki ata imadi, because you, God, are with me. All I need is this staff in my hand. That's what's going to give me the ability to overcome the trials and battles of life. So after David took his staff in his hand, he picked out 5 stones from the brook and he put them in his pouch. And with a slingshot in his hands, that's how he went out to do battle with this great giant. It's written in the Tikkunei Zohar that those 5 stones that David HaMelech chose from the brook represented the first 5 words of Kriyat Shema. Shema, Israel, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai. He placed those stones in his pouch, and then he bound them together with the word Echad, 1. That's the conclusion of the pasuk of Shema Yisrael. Ladies, David HaMelech took his staff in his hand. He took the staff of Emunah, the staff of Me'olam Kivinu Lach, that he inherited from Yaakov Avinu, together with the 5 stones that represented the ultimate Emunah that we have to have in the oneness of Hashem. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And that's how he was able to defeat Goliath the giant. And fascinatingly, by the way, the Midrash in Bereshit Rabbah reveals to us that it was actually Yaakov Avinu who formulated this pasuk of Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, prior to his passing. Because those 5 words of the Shema have the power to subdue the tum'ah of the Gentile world, of the Goliaths of the world who disrupt and negate our Kriyat Shema, our belief in the one true God. So today, my dear friends, we learned about the amazing power and the awesome journey of Yaakov Avinu's staff. After it was passed down to Moshe Rabbeinu, who used it to perform miracles in Egypt, and then it became a fixture in the Mishkan, in the sanctuary. It was used as the middle bar in between the beams. And then we learned that it became David HaMelech's staff that he used to confront Goliath. Therefore, this special staff of Emunah was passed down from king to king until HaKadosh Baruch Hu will ultimately deliver it into the hands of the Mashiach. And the Mashiach will use it to vanquish all of the idol worshippers out there in the world. All those who didn't believe in the one true God, in Hashem, and who unfortunately followed false ideologies and false gods.
Is it just me, or
Why is this
is there a
necessary?
little
Why is
bit
this
of
necessary?
irony in this?
Because the Rambam,
She's talking about the staff that might have connections to the Asherah pole, but she's basically saying the staff is going to get rid of idol worship. The idol is going to get rid of idol worship. I mean, it's pretty interesting, right?
Absolutely. No, I don't think she recognizes the irony in what she's saying.
But it's also, it kind of goes into this almost like antinomianism, you know?
No, absolutely. And there's a lot of that I find reflected in various scriptures. Okay.
Yeah.
Alav Shalom, Maimonides writes in Hilchot Melachim that the mission of Mashiach is to return all of Am Yisrael to the path of Torah. How is he going to do it? The Rambam says he's going to use the staff of Emunah to sway all of our hearts to believe wholeheartedly and without a doubt in Hashem and in His Torah. And with that very same staff that he's going to use to influence us to do tshuva, to repent, he will also exact punishment against all the nations who persecuted us throughout our history in this galut, in this exile. And Be'ezrat Hashem, God willing, with our staff of faith in our hands, we are going to witness the wondrous staff in the hand of Mashiach. B'mehera b'yamenu. Very soon it should be in our days. Amen. Ken. Yehi Ratzon.
On that note, anything else before we close out? You have any thoughts before we close out?
It was fun as always. And
Yeah.
see you next time.
Actually, wait, here, we've got a few minutes. It's just, because this is almost done as well.
Yechida of the neshama can only be revealed down here. L'mayla, there's no Yechida connection to Hashem. Now the Rebbe says in Perek Lamed Vav that you can't see the purpose of creation. Because the highest worlds are only revelations of Hashem. Correct? Revelations can never get essence. Yes? So l'mayla, it's all revelations that the neshama sees. Revelations can never get essence. Yachid is essence. Only down here, he says, in Gashmis, which is the essence of Hashem, can you connect to the essence? That's what he says, all right? That's why you're down here. That's why Mashiach is there with that thing. What? How can I time? That's what he says. I don't want Gan Eden. I want this. I want you. I want the essence. And that essence can only be gotten down here. The neshama in the body has more ability to reveal Yechida than it did L'mayla. That they have Yechida. Neshama can only reveal Yechida seemingly. It comes out down here. Because where do you have Etzim? Atzmus is only down here. That's why the neshama after it's down doesn't want to leave. Before it comes down, it doesn't want to come. The Jews are never happy. That's the bottom line. They're not happy. They come down here, they're not happy. Wherever they are, they're not happy. It's an old trait. What's your problem? Go ahead.
The behavior of the body is by Nefesh Neshama. And it's happening down here, but it's only affecting Nefesh Neshama down here. It's reaching to Yechida.
Yeah. What happens when you do a mitzvah? What are you connecting to? All our mitzvahs, the Rebbe writes, all mitzvahs connected to the essence. He says, he says, you can, the Neshama L'mayla gets into the level of Niflois. But then there's a level of Adayna Niflois. That's why by Hamachadish Betuvei B'chol Yom Tomid. Where is the level of Adayna Niflois? That's what he's saying, David. Adayna Niflois, Hamachadish Betuvei B'chol Yom Tomid Ma'aser. Where is the level of Adayna Niflois revealed? Dafka in Hamachadish Betuvei B'chol Yom Tomid Ma'aser.
All right. And on that note, because I think we've said everything we need to say, we will get into Parsha Teruma next week. Or I guess technically starting tomorrow, but eventually one of these days I'm going to try to get ahead. Okay, so where is it? And on that note, well, this isn't quite a one, but it's a one stub.
Want to tell the Rebbe the words of the new song that we're singing with Mashiach, right? So I'm just going to read him. Am Yisrael, have no fear. Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. Okay? We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be this year. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. And we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. Shatan.